All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Close. It is Friday, January 10th, the first official week of 2025 stock market trading is coming to a close. And oh boy, what a day it has been for this market to come to a close. We have had so many headlines since the market opened. And these headlines are pretty insane, quite frankly, to take a look at. So we're going to go through them, analyze them, understand the implications they have on the broader market. First of all, happy Friday. Thank you, everybody, for being here, ending out the market close with me. Let's start off just by looking at equities and how they're doing. First off, today, S&P 500, 580 down 1.5%. Why is the S&P down 1.5%? Well, we got jobs data. And that jobs data was 256,000 jobs added, which was 100,000 more jobs than expected. Unemployment went from 4.2% to 4.1%. The market thought it would go up to 4.3%. So you got more jobs, you got less unemployment, and that results in the S&P going down 1.5% because this beautiful 10-year, which is only beautiful to people who wanted a higher yield, which maybe the bond market does want a higher yield until they get some clarity on inflation, is at damn near 4.8%, 4.767 right now. That was the story of this morning. That is what we're seeing right now in the 10-year. And as a result, equities took a hit. Now, as I say equities took a hit, which the S&P 500 falling 1.5%, that is definitely a hit. We can't deny that that's a hit. Like down 1.5% on an index is definitely, it's definitely a dip, even if it's not like a crazy dip. But not all parts of the market are feeling it. I mean, Hood at $40, somehow maintaining the 40s after touching 38.78 today. Rocket Lab down 1.86%. Okay, it's not that crazy. It was touching 27.99 in the morning, now down at 26.85. TMDX, really nice recovery. I haven't looked at this since the morning, actually, because I've been out all day, but TMDX was down 15% after Scorpion Capital came out with a short report. Now they're down 5.9%. So it looks like the market came in, bought that dip. Amazon down 1.4%. That's not the best. Meta, we have a lot to talk about Meta. We'll get to them in a second, but they're up 0.71%. Google's down 1%. Tesla basically flat on the day. Tesla was almost at 400. Now it's at 394. I mean, this is not the insane type of dip that I think the market was expecting based on where the 10 years going and based on what the jobs data was. And that's because, quite frankly, Palantir is well recovering, 1.63% down. Palantir was at 65 at one point. Now it's at 67.13. I think the reason for that is because everyone's confused. I think everyone's confused. And you know how I know everyone's confused? Bank of America comes out today, 3 hours ago. They issue a report to their clients. And the report is, we believe that the Fed is done cutting. And I'm just reading this report like, what? Like you think off of one piece of data, which is a higher than expected jobs report, which, by the way, probably is going to get revised, going back to this whole confusion that everyone's having. That is the reason why the Fed's going to stop cutting. What happens if CPI comes in lower than expected? What happens if in 2 months CPI is better than expected? What happens if the labor market starts going down? What happens if we get 100,000 job revision, which means we're actually just meeting expectations versus beating by 100,000? Bank of America would change their minds instantly. So it's very, very weird that Bank of America issued the report and it's like, yeah, the Fed's done cutting, and they're so definitive on it. But nonetheless, I think everyone's confused. Again, we got 100,000 jobs more than expected. Unemployment went to 4.1%. The 10-year at 4.8%. The dollar at 109.5. That's why Grab. I did buy some more Grab today. I got 15 more options on Grab. It filled at the price I wanted. So the dollar was at 109.5. That hurt Grab because high dollar is not good for Grab. Odds of even one rate cut were priced out until October by traders, which is probably another reason why Bank of America said that we expect the Fed not to cut. By the way, Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, they aren't expecting a cut till June. So Bank of America is not expecting a cut at all this year, which is just insanity that they actually put out that report. And Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan is saying, hey, we're probably not going to get it until June. Then Goolsbee, the Fed president, we saw this morning on the market open, he went on CNBC and he said, what are you guys talking about? The PCE inflation is actually below 2%. It's 1.95. And the Fed's doing a great job even with a hot labor market. And then to top it all off, again, no one knows until February 7th when we get the revisions if this job number is even accurate. Bitcoin did get back to 95,000 at one point after going to 91. Bitcoin currently at 94.6, so not too far off. And the S&P 500 back to 581 from going to 570 or 575. On top of that, Delta crushed earnings, Walgreens crushed earnings, like Jeffries crushed earnings a couple of days ago, Costco crushed earnings, TSM also put out some numbers today. Did they actually have earnings today? I think TSM did. Did they have earnings? No, they didn't have earnings, but they put out some numbers for their monthly metrics, and they crushed their metrics as well. So you've got all these different companies living up to expectations. You've got Bank of America saying no more cut. You've got a high jobs number, but low unemployment rate. Therefore, the 10-year and the dollar explodes. All of this stuff is happening all at once. And as a result, you get the S&P down 1%, but I don't think it's that confusing, or I think it's so confusing that you don't have the S&P down like 3 or 4% in a day. And you have a lot of names that are actually going green, like Walmart, Target, Home Depot, Lowe's, and United, because they benefit off of a strong consumer. And if we have a lot more jobs, then obviously the consumer is a lot stronger. So I think my argument right now is that everyone's confused. No one knows what the hell's going on. And that's why, we're seeing some volatility, but not that much volatility. Yeah, the S&P never went to 575. It went to 578. I misspoke there. 578.56 was the low today on the S&P. We got back to 584, and then we fell, and now we're falling at 580.23, down about 1.57%. So that's what we had today. Let me know in the chat if anyone bought the dip and what's going on. Let me look at the quantum names as well and some of the spec names. Quantum names are still down. D-Wave down 5%. Rigetti down 12%. Quantum computing down 10%. The only spec names that are up are MicroStrategy at 333. That's because Bitcoin having a little bit of recovery back to 95. And then IONQ, that's up 5.3%. But everything else in the spec world is down. Mag 7 as well. The only green one is Meta, which transitions us to talking about Meta. So let's talk about Meta. I see you guys bought Grab, SPY, bought AMD. Where's AMD? We didn't look at AMD. AMD in the morning was at 115, currently 115.7. All right, so the market's not giving AMD any love right now. Test bought some more Quantum, Tesla, MicroStrategy. I don't think today's a horrible day to buy the dip. I think I'm refraining a little bit more from it outside of the little bit about of Grab because of CPI next week. But here's the thing about CPI. I'm starting to think no one gives a shit about CPI because if the market can't tank and, down 1.5% on the S&P is not really tanking to me. It's not the dippy dip. If the market's not tanking off of a very elevated jobs report and the 10-year getting almost to 4.8%, what is the market going to tank on? CPI at 3%? That would suck. It wouldn't be good. But at this point, I feel like a lot of it's starting to get priced in. If dip buyers are coming in and they're saying, you know what, we kind of don't care. We're ready to buy equities. Having said that, one of the best performing Mag 7s today is Meta, even if it's only up 1%. And that's because Meta officially came out today and they said, we are done with DEI. Meta today said they are no longer having teams devoted to diversity, equity, inclusion. They are no longer prioritizing diversity when working with outside minority-owned supplier businesses. And they are no longer having goals for hiring women and minorities. So the Zucks pivot to Dana White that we saw last week and this new free speech, or that was on Monday. Yeah, I think that was on Monday. And then the replacing of the trust and safety regime to more of a community notes feature to deal with content moderation. That wasn't just something to necessarily appease Trump. I'm sure part of it's to appease Trump and to enter into this new administration that we're in. But the fact that they're getting rid of DEI completely, by the way, Amazon also, after this headline came out, is slashing their DEI budget. It means we're getting an entire vibe shift in big tech, and they are embracing a world in which meritocracy matters a bit more than identity politics. After that report came out, ironically, Zucks is on Joe Rogan, and Zucks for 3 hours is just like killing the Biden administration. Here's a clip of what he said, basically accusing the Biden administration of mass censorship by proxy of forcing Facebook to take things down.
When it went from, 2 weeks to flatten the curve to, and like in the beginning, it was like, okay, there aren't enough masks. Masks aren't that important. To then it's like, oh no, you have to wear a mask. And, everything was shifting around. It just became very difficult to kind of follow. And this really hit the most extreme, I'd say, during the Biden administration when they were trying to roll out the vaccine program. And now I'm generally like pretty pro rolling out vaccines. I think on balance, the vaccines are more positive than negative. But I think that while they're trying to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who was basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguably true.
Who is they? Who's telling you to take down things that
Yeah, it was
that talk
people.
about vaccine side effects?
It was people in the Biden administration.
And there's a lot more. There's a lot more. I'm still going through the podcast, but essentially Zucks comes out and he's like, so we defaulted to the Biden administration when the vaccine debate was like a big thing in 2021. And then they started asking us to like get rid of very specific things. There was this meme with Leo DiCaprio talking about the vaccines or whatever. And Zucks was like, they wanted us to get rid of the meme. And we were like, no, we're not going to get rid of the meme. And so they had to push back. And then he goes on in the podcast to say, we said no to the whole satire, humor element of the vaccine debate that was happening back in 2021. And then ironically, they start getting investigated by different government agencies. And so Zucks started realizing, oh shit, like this is what it means if you don't sort of acquiesce to the way the government wants you to engage in the showing or not showing of content. This is a big deal, folks. This is a really big deal. The fact that Zucks feels comfortable enough to say this right now, obviously, is because of the Trump administration. If Harris had won, there's no way he would be saying any of this stuff because then he would get investigated even more. And so Trump winning has flipped the entire narrative on a platform or a company that controls platforms that house 4 billion people and growing a day. And I think all of us can agree we want them to be able to speak freely and not necessarily be censored. And Zucks is coming out and saying over the past 4 years, that's exactly what the administration told him to do. So this is a sort of bombshell report that came out today in terms of this podcast. He's very openly saying this stuff, I guess, because he doesn't fear the ramifications of him talking anymore because the Biden administration is no longer there. Now, this whole sort of love triangle between Trump, Zucks, Dana White, is that going to work out? Is Trump going to, ask Zucks to take stuff down? I guess we're going to find out. On paper, I think the relationship will be better because now big tech is more so on the side of free speech, more than we've seen before. I'm not saying they're perfect and there's probably still going to be mistakes. And is he kissing the ring? Of course, but they're implementing policies with his whole new free speech, trust and safety stuff and openly talking about the censorship that has happened in the past versus holding it down to more align with what the Trump administration's views were back in 2017, which is that big tech should not be censoring anything, right? Especially political speech. And, there were many accusations that Republicans in particular were censored on these platforms, which Zucks is basically admitting is true, right? Because more often than not, you probably have people on the right wing have these memes of vaccine and questioning the science behind it. And those were the people that the Biden administration wanted to censor. So, I mean, that's a big deal. If you're a Meta shareholder, I think the benefit to that is that he's going to have a better relationship with the Trump campaign or with the Trump administration now that he's openly talking about the problems with the Biden administration, and that hopefully the Trump administration is not going to ask him to censor in the same way that the Biden administration was asking him to censor as well. A couple other headlines on Meta. So obviously TikTok, we're actually going to have someone come on the show in about 10 minutes, who is a third-year law student at Berkeley. And so they're actually from this community. They're going to hop on the show and they're going to talk to us a little bit about what's going on with the Supreme Court. But TikTok said today that they are not shutting down or they are not selling the platform. They'd rather shut down unless the Supreme Court strikes down the law. Based on what I heard today in the briefings, the Supreme Court is not going to give TikTok an extension. I mean, the Supreme Court is very, very skeptical of the lawyer's argument from TikTok. So we'll get a little bit more coverage on that in a bit. But it does seem like they're not shutting down, or they are going to shut down. They're not selling themselves to another company. And then this news dropped 5 minutes before I went live. Shareholders of Facebook are requesting the company to conduct an assessment to determine if adding Bitcoin to the company's treasury is in the best interest of shareholders. I mean, you got $72 billion in cash. Zucks is getting red-pilled. Zucks free speech. He's partying with the Trump administration. Maybe the next thing Meta does is embrace Bitcoin, which would be absolutely crazy. So we got a lot to talk about. We're going to have Steve on a little bit as well. Ladies and gentlemen, 4 p.m. Friday, the first trading week of 2025 is done. The stock market is now closed. All right, let's see how these equities ended out, and then we will get into all these other headlines that we've got to discuss. Zucks and Meta, 615.86 down or up 0.84%. It was at 630 at one point today, so it was up a lot, and then it kind of came down throughout the rest of the day. The algos just weren't strong enough to keep it up, but 615, it's green for the day. Tesla goes red for the day, basically flat, 0.05%. So Tesla flat. S&P 500 down 1.52%. This is the least painful 1.5% drop I've seen on the S&P in a while, because usually when this happens, all of big tech is down 3 to 4%, or at least 2%, at least 1%. And that's not necessarily what we're seeing here today. S&P 500, 580.54. SLG down about 4.2%. Walmart was up. Target was up. Nubank was down 1.75%, really right into the end of the day. Nubank got hit, down about 2%. MicroStrategy was down 1.14%, which is not too bad for MSTR. TMDX was down about 5%. Rocket Lab down 1.64%. Robinhood, did we close at 40? We somehow, folks, closed at $40.08, down 1.79%. Apple is having some issues. We'll talk about Apple as well. Apple got hit today badly, down 2.4%. So Apple lost a decent amount of market cap here today. Oklo down about 3.37%. Microsoft was down 1.32%. Upstart was down 2.5%. Enphase was down 4%. SoFi as well took it on the chin. SoFi 14.15, down 2.75% on the day. They have earnings coming up in a couple weeks. Snapchat was up 9% at one point. Now it's up 3.5%. And that's also based on the idea that if TikTok gets banned, there's going to be a lot of users that go to companies like Snapchat and Meta to get their content. Yes, Hood is showing incredible strength. I mean, I am just very pleased by Hood's performance, but did not expect Hood to show this much strength. Walgreens, let's take a look at them. They end the day up 27%. Not bad. I really haven't gone through their numbers. I'm going to go through their numbers later, but it seems like whatever they said on the earnings call is giving the street enough excitement. And on a day like this, where you do have a lot of wonky stuff happening from a macro perspective, to give Walgreens the bid. So Walgreens right there up about 30%, $10.5 billion market cap. Tesla again, 394. Constellation Energy, they bought out a company for $16 billion. They went up 25%. So you do have some deals today where companies are still willing to, or firms are still willing to give companies some momentum, even if we have some weird macro data, because independently those companies are still doing well. Grab right here ends the day at 449, down 3%. Again, I think the strong dollar is what's affecting Grab, and about a little bit more of the company today. And then Palantir ends the day at 1.42%. Nothing too bad. 67.26 at one point was 65. Holding 65 very well, just like Robinhood's holding 40. Palantir's holding 65. And so both of those showing some nice strength. We do get 5 full trading days next week. That is correct. We do get 5 full trading days next week. Dude, you guys are obsessed with Steve's pick, dude. He's in a meeting, dude. He's gonna call in a little bit. I can't literally call him right now. He's in a meeting. I'll be able to call him in about 15 minutes. But trust me, you guys are not gonna like the pick, dude. I don't think you guys are gonna like it. I really don't. I don't think you're gonna like it. I don't think you're gonna like it. Maybe you do. We'll see. But I don't like it. So I'll be curious to get your guys' thoughts on it. Okay, so that's what we had for today, dude. Zucks goes full red pill. Meta gets the tailwinds of, I guess, Zucks embracing free speech, the market liking that more because he's friendly with the Trump administration. And then you got this TikTok thing that if TikTok does get banned, I mean, I don't see how Meta doesn't go up 5% that day. On a day like today with all the macro data, that wasn't going to happen. But when that does become real, January 19th, if it happens, then I think he gets some love. Let's hear from the professor, get his take on what's going on with the Fed, and then we will keep going from there.
It's nice to see you in this new year.
Good afternoon, Scott.
What do you make of the market's reaction today to that better than expected jobs report and the move in rates?
Well, the price in stocks is always a battle between the numerator and the denominator. The numerator is earnings, and the strong, it's a strong report, and that's good for earnings. But it also, strong report also means higher interest rates. That's the denominator. Today, the denominator beat the numerator. I think really the market is saying maybe no rate cuts in 2025, and that the 10-year could very easily break well above 5%. One has to realize, I mean, I've done the historical research over the last half century. The long rate has been on average between 1 and 1.5 percentage points above the Fed funds rate. We have a Fed funds rate now at 4.3%. So, do the math. You're talking about 5.5, 5.75 potentially on the 10-year, and that's a normal term structure. That's not anything that's unusual. And I think we got so used to this inverted curve, with the short above the long. We thought the long would stay low. but that is not normal through history. So now I think what investors have to say is, oh my goodness, all right, if the 10-year goes into the fives, earnings are going to be good, but I have to take that into account.
I mean, are you thinking that the Fed might not cut anymore? I know you said the market might be thinking that. Does that match with your own view? And do you?
Let's see. I put a poll in the chat as well for what you guys think in terms of rate cuts. Let's see if the professor thinks the Fed might not cut.
You really think that the 10-year could get substantially over 5%?
I think it could. I think no one really, anything could happen, when we talk about 3, 6, 9, 12 months out. Clearly, if things start slipping, the Fed will lower. But given the growth that we see right now under that, and if you take a look at the futures and adjust them for risk premiums as I do, I really see that virtually every cut has really been wiped out. And looking at history, I was saying that is actually a formula for higher long-term rates. And as you know, before year end, I said that this could be the year of a correction. I don't think it's going to be a big collapse. I mean, look at the VIX. I think crossed 20 today. It's a little bit lower now. That's a lot of hedging in the market. I mean, there's a lot of people that say, "Oh my goodness, this could be a little bit of a dip." And when you get VIX at 20, I don't see a big fall. But I think the thought that I have to deal with maybe a 5 to 5.5% long bond. How do I allocate in that case? And especially for all types of stocks. Small stocks are hurt because if the Fed doesn't cut, their interest costs remain high.
I think everyone is freaking out, and I still think we're going to get at least 2 cuts this year, dude. I feel like it's January 10th. Yes, unemployment went lower. Yes, the labor market's hot if you believe the jobs report. I think we have so much more data to get over the next 6 months. Bank of America coming out and saying that we're not going to get a rate cut for the whole year. I mean, to me, that's a little irresponsible to make that big of a call on January freaking 10th. But nonetheless, I guess, that's how the Wall Street firms are. But I don't know, dude. It feels very similar to 2024. Remember 2024, the first 3 months, inflation was sticky. Inflation was going up first 3 months of 2024. We couldn't get below 3.5% because it kept teetering between 3.6 and 4.2. And then finally around the summer, we started seeing it come down. And then September, we got the cut. I think it's the same thing right now. My belief still remains that technology innovation and margin expansion based on earnings growth will decide the market. As long as we avoid a recession, then that is going to be the playbook. And the question is going to be, does J-Powell want to induce a recession to get inflation down? Like in 2025, do we need to cause a economic collapse so inflation goes from 2.7 to 2%? Is that what he's going to do? And if that's not what he's going to do, then I just think the market continues to gain momentum as long as earnings are not bad. The consumer stays strong, which today we saw the consumer was relatively strong with Delta earnings. And if we can at least get inflation to moderate, if not start to go down a little bit more. Let's hear a bit more from Zucks. He also took some shots at Apple. So today has really been Zucks day. And then in about 3 minutes, we are going to get a Berkeley law student onto the show to talk a little bit more about TikTok and Meta.
Security holes that we're now aware of. You as an individual could basically like break into any system. AI will be able to do that too. It'll be able to probe and find exploits. So each other.
Yeah.
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 And it's like
antivirus software.
Yeah, it's like I don't think you want to live in a world where like only one person has all the guns.
Yes. You certainly
Right?
don't want to live in a world where only the government has the AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially not a world where only a government has the AI and it's not our government.
Yes.
So
Yes. I think that's a realistic, pragmatic perspective because I don't think you can contain it at this point. I think it's far too late, especially when other countries are working on it. It's far too late. It is what it is. It's happening. And I think the guardrails, as you said, are really important. I have to peace.
I needed to fast forward 2 minutes. My bad, guys. I need to go to this part. All right. This is where he talks about Apple.
Tools that everyone can have in their pocket. And there's like 4 billion people who use the different apps that we use. And it's like, I'm grateful that that platform exists. But we didn't play any role in basically building that those phones, because I mean it was kind of getting worked on while I was still just trying to make the first website that I was making into a thing. And on the one hand, it's been great because now pretty much everyone in the world has a phone, and that's a kind of, it enables pretty amazing things. But on the other hand, like you're saying, they have used that platform to put in place a lot of rules that I think it feel arbitrary and feel like they haven't really invented anything great in a while. And it's like Steve
They being Apple.
Jobs invented the iPhone, and now they're just kind of sitting on it 20 years later. And they actually, I think year over year, I'm not even sure they're selling more iPhones at this point. I think like the sales might actually be declining. I think part of it is that each generation it doesn't actually get that much better, so people are just taking longer to upgrade than they would before. So the number of sales, I think, has generally been flat to declining. So how are they making more money as a company? Well, they do it by basically like squeezing people, and like you're saying, like having this 30% tax on developers, um, by getting you to buy more peripherals and things that plug into it. Um, they build stuff like AirPods, which are cool, but they've just thoroughly hamstrung the ability for anyone else to build something that can connect to the iPhone in the same way. So, I mean, there are a lot of other companies in the world that would be able to build like a very good earbud, but it just, Apple has a specific protocol that they've built into the iPhone that allows AirPods to basically connect to it, um, and it's just much more seamless because they've enabled that, but they don't let anyone else use the protocol. If they did, there would probably be much better competitors to AirPods out there. And
So as we can see, Zucks really is going on the offensive. The whole free speech stuff, Dana White on the board of directors, doing Joe Rogan for the second time on a day like today where the Supreme Court's hearing the TikTok ruling, and then taking some pretty obvious shots at Apple. I mean, literally talking about their earnings growth and saying that they're not even selling enough phones year over year to justify the momentum. And basically arguing that they have created a gated wall in all their products, which he's right about. Now, granted, if you're an Apple shareholder, you like that because it's created a lot of value for you. But if you're Meta, which is trying to disrupt that massively, that is something that is on his mind. I put up a poll right here: Meta or Apple over the next 5 years. 72% of you guys said Apple, or sorry, Meta. 27% said Apple. Maybe Zucks perm was a little bit convincing for some of you guys who voted for Meta. Okay, so let's get someone onto the show right here. This is going to be Josh. Josh is a third-year student at Berkeley Law who has taken various courses on the Supreme Court and the First Amendment. He spent his last summer doing IP transactional work at a top firm in Silicon Valley, and he's going to be returning to the firm's SF office to join their tax department later this year. And he's interested in joining the show to discuss legal cases and how they can impact investing. I think we've got a massive legal case going on right now between Facebook or TikTok, the Supreme Court, implications for Facebook and Google. So let's get him onto the show and get his thoughts. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today, man? Thanks for having me on.
I'm doing very, very good. First question for you before we get started is, how long have you been watching the show? And I'm super glad that someone from the community is on the show with us right now.
And I think I found you through Jeremy back in the day. I think when he was talking about Palantir back in the day. And then Finance Junkies. So been watching for probably like a year and a half, maybe 2 years at this point, give or take. So it's been a while. It's great,
Are you a Palantir investor?
Of course, I got the head on,
Yeah, there we go. I love it. I love
Although
it.
my wife, I invest for her, and she has a better average than I do.
Well, how old are you?
28.
28. Okay, I love it. Awesome. And third year in Berkeley Law, so you've got 1 year left, and then you're done.
Yep, last semester, and then you graduate and you take the bar exam, and then you're a lawyer. So still got another 6 months of grind, and then ready to go. But before this, I was in the military. I was EOD in the military. So
I love it. Thank you for your service. That's great. We get to have you on before you become a full-fledged lawyer. I love it. Okay, so let's get into it. So TikTok's talking to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court's willing to listen to them pretty much based on Trump asking if they would listen. And TikTok lawyers, well, here's my first question. What are TikTok's lawyers saying to the Supreme Court to try to get them to not let them be banned by January 19th?
Yeah. So they're basically trying to say that the law is unconstitutional because it's it violates their First Amendment right, TikTok's First Amendment right. I listened to oral arguments earlier this morning, and it seemed like, and one of the first initial questions is, does it even violate First Amendment rights? Because, yes, there's a U.S. entity, but let's be real, CCP kind of controls them a little bit. So there was a lot of discussion about that, a lot of hypotheticals. But some of the justices were like, okay, let's say they're a U.S. company, then is this law violating the First Amendment rights? And if it does, but the government, I think was like a little unknown. The government can violate your rights. It has to be like narrowly tailored, right? So First Amendment usually, like strict scrutiny. So like it has to be the least restrictive means and it has to compel a government interest, like a vital government interest, like national security is really what this one's written off of. So there are instances where the government can, violate your rights. Is this if there's no other way to do it, then it's okay. So they're arguing that like, it is violating their rights, and then if it does, then they're arguing that it still doesn't meet strict scrutiny.
So is
Government would have to prove that.
Is TikTok's argument that although Congress voted for a bill back in 2024, that bill also gave a lot of money to Ukraine, and they kind of slid this into the bill, right? That's how it got bipartisanship. That's how it got the approval. Is their argument that that bill, which rests on an argument around national security, should be not looked at because of TikTok's free speech as an American company to operate? Is that their point?
Yeah, I think so. And even though it's part of a larger package, right? Like they can cut out parts of a bill of the Supreme Court, right? They can say like this is unconstitutional, not the whole thing. They can't say the whole thing is too, but they probably won't do that. But yeah, it's basically their argument saying like because you're affecting the U.S. company and millions of Americans' speech, right? So as America, right? Like corporations have a First Amendment right. Some people think that's debatable, arguable, but that's how it is right now. So they're arguing that not only is their rights violated, but also the users. But the justice seemed a little bit less about, not that they don't care, but they seemed a little bit less interested in like the people that post on the website.
Why do the justices not care about that versus national security? Like, what's their legal interpretation of why that doesn't matter?
Well, I mean, at least not that they literally look at like the text of the bill, right? So the bill is written about national security, so that's why they're justifying it. So the ones, if I was going to say some of them that would vote against or vote that the bill is constitutional, they're going to say this is not about free speech, it's about national security. And also there was like Justice Gorsuch, who is a conservative justice, arguably. I don't think so, but he seemed most inclined to do the bill, like to support a ban on the law, because it impacts so many American speech, and usually the cure is more speech, not less speech. So that was kind of his stance. It seemed like that was in the minority viewpoint, but yeah, it seemed like they care more about, because the users can go elsewhere, right? They're not directly impacted. I know it seems like they are, but like legally they're not. Which is
in your opinion, if ByteDance is not willing to divest TikTok, does that mean that the CCP is controlling the United States algorithm, even if it's a subsidiary from the China app?
Yeah, I mean, at least in my opinion, it seems like they are in control of the algorithm. And beginning of the conversation, the oral arguments, it seemed that way as well. I mean, the attorney for ByteDance TikTok was basically saying the CCP won't let them sell it anyways, even if they wanted to, because that algorithm is used between other companies in China. So, and that's their source code. They don't want to let go of it. Yeah, exactly. So it seems like they won't sell. So yeah.
So the likely outcome is January 19th, they get banned, and then TikTok's gone from the United States. That's what you legally, from your legal interpretation, you think that's the way this plays out?
Yeah. I like to hesitate, like not want to make too many predictions, but based on like the kind of questions that all the justices asked, either conservative or liberal, it was a little shocking, at least to me, to kind of hear some like Sotomayor, which are, to deem more of like the liberal side, to kind of, usually you can kind of tell in these like oral arguments, right? Like after you listen to it long enough, you can tell who's throwing up a softball and who's trying to pigeonhole you a little bit. And it seemed like all the justices, except, again, maybe like Gorsuch, were kind of look like they're leaning toward the way of making this, that it's going to go away unless they don't sell.
Yeah. What's really interesting as well is that liberals have been more on the side of not banning TikTok for whatever reason. I'm sure there's plenty of reasons, but that's been the case. But liberal justices on the Supreme Court still appreciate the national security threat, which is why Congress ended up banning it. So there is a nuance here, because You could have a vote where some of the liberal justices feel that TikTok shouldn't be banned for whatever reasons they come up with. But you have a lot of them also thinking, well, dude, TikTok really doesn't have a justification to use their free speech argument as a way to outweigh the national security argument that Congress already passed. Because that would be really hard to go against what Congress passed. And the Supreme Court only does that if it's like a really big violation of constitutional rights.
I agree. I do think this, this case is a little unique, right? Because the Supreme Court has never had to address whether a whole platform is,
Right.
Constitutional or not. Like the beginning of the argument, they talked about, like, if someone was, coursing Bezos, like, would it be okay for Congress to say that he can't post anything on the Washington Post and things like that?
Right.
So I think it's definitely an untouched area. So they could, if they felt strongly one way or another, they can usually write these opinions however they want, right? If they whatever they want to justify. I just don't think they have the majority to do that in this case. But I think if they were going to write that opinion, it would probably be on the argument that, we've never banned a whole platform before First Amendment rights. Let's not get in the habit of doing that.
Right.
Right. But I think that would be, I don't think that's the case, unfortunately.
All right. Thank you, Josh. We appreciate it. We'll get you back on the show next time we have some legal questions when you're a big hotshot lawyer. So appreciate it.
I appreciate it. All right. Thanks, Mitt. Have a good one.
Thanks, Josh. Talk later. All right, folks. Now we move on to the part of the show you guys have all been waiting for. I don't know how many of you guys are going to like this pick by Steve. Let's call him up. He told me he already bought the stock, so he's in. I don't know if you guys are going to like the pick. I don't know if you guys are going to like it. I don't like it. But we'll see if you guys like it.
Wow.
Hi, Steve. Welcome to the show.
You know, the Nostalgianomics podcast is getting really good.
Oh, I love it.
Just interrupted.
Alex does. Oh, I disrupted. Okay, so I'm sorry I disrupted you from.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You're actually just getting started with somebody who started a business last year in the Pokemon space. I'm going to go back and listen to it when we're done.
Okay, so I just want to let you know that although I interrupted you, literally everyone since 3:45, when I was doing my wax poetic about macroeconomic analysis in the Fed, no one gave a shit, and they wanted to know what is the stock that Steve bought. Like, I'm like trying to connect all these different ideas, and I'm seeing the chat like, Steve, where's Steve? What's the Steve stock? Steve. So basically, the past 30 minutes of the show didn't matter. This is the one moment everyone's been waiting for. I feel like we should.
Why? It may not be a good idea.
Well, no, I don't think it's a good idea. But this is what I'm saying. Everyone respects you, even if they hate you sometimes, and they want to know what the hell you bought. So
the fact that you don't think it's a good idea makes it a good idea.
Look, maybe I'm not willing to take the risk. But first of all, you bought the stock already, right? You're in.
I did. Well, I called you and didn't even let you talk. And hung up on you.
Yeah. No. Let me describe what happened. I was driving back from my accountant. I pick up the phone. Steve's like, "Yeah, I've got 1 minute for a meeting, but I bought the stock. Bye." And I'm like, "Okay, I guess you're in." But you also sold some covered calls, so you collected some premium today as well.
I did.
Okay, so Steve, what do you think is the purpose of life? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just creating too much suspense. All right, go ahead. Say it. What is the stock that you bought today, Steve?
I mean, how many people have guessed it already? Not many or a lot, would you say?
Okay, so all right, so let's do this. Before you say the stock, guys, guess in the chat. What is it? Put it in the chat. Let's see who can get it. I don't see it in the chat yet. Some people got it in the morning, but I don't think they have it yet.
I know some people got it in the morning.
Okay, let's do this. Let me say some names, and then you can deny it or not. But I know which one it is, right? So I'm not going to say the actual one. Is it AMD?
It'll never be AMD. So
I forgot.
That's a heartbreaking story.
Yeah, guys, he had AMD at $2 and he sold it. I forgot about that one. Is it Snapchat?
It won't be Snapchat because I already own Snapchat.
Is it Snowflake?
It's not Snowflake.
Is it SoundHound?
I don't even know what SoundHound is, so no.
Is it?
Do they make instruments or something?
I don't know. It's up a lot though from last year. Is it Uber?
It's not Uber.
Is it Grab?
It is not Grab, although I'm getting closer on Grab.
Dude, it's trading at like 35% cash at this point. Like, is it Nintendo?
It is not Nintendo, but you know what? That is on the list.
Is it Disney?
No, I shouldn't say never anymore, but No, it's not.
It's not Walgreens, I imagine.
No, I'm already a shareholder of Walgreens.
When did you buy Walgreens?
I've had it for a long time.
Oh, you've had it for a long time. Okay. All right, Steve, go ahead. Drop it. What stock did you buy?
I don't even know that I know what the acronym stands for. That's MCI.
Oh, wait, let me say it then. Let me say what Steve bought.
I just said what ticker it is.
Oh, no one heard you.
Super micro something.
See, this is why I hate you. You don't even know. Guys, he bought SMCI. He freaking bought SMCI. Go ahead. What the hell is the thesis?
Let me give you the thesis. So here's what I did.
Goodness.
I am not the smartest person in the world. I know some really smart people. And one of my good friends is an accountant and worked for some pretty big firms as an auditor in the past. I had a conversation with him about it, and he follows a lot of this stuff. And he seems to think that there is a somewhat good chance that this is going to turn out to be a nothing burger and that their new firm is not going to find anything. So that may or may not happen, but I feel a lot better getting somebody who I would consider an expert, their opinion saying that there's at least a chance that this becomes a nothing burger with what was said happens. They already had an independent review company come out and say no fraud happened. They have a new CFO coming on, and that's good enough for me to at least put those fears away or at least mitigate the risk from it to some degree. And then I look at the landscape. Microsoft coming out $80 billion in data center spend in 2025. Amazon and Meta both 2 months ago announced $10 billion data centers. And then Amazon comes out a couple of days ago and announces an $11 billion data center in Georgia. So right there, you got $111 billion toward data centers in 2025, not including any of the other CapEx from Amazon, Meta, or Alphabet that was allocated toward data centers in 2025. We'll find out in a couple of weeks on all the earnings calls how heavy everybody's going. Nobody is letting Microsoft run away with this. They are all going to spend more than anticipated because Microsoft came out and flat out said $80 billion is going toward data centers, not CapEx, data centers. So
okay,
before
CapEx
is going to be $100 billion next year.
Okay, so before we continue, because I think that makes sense, the CapEx thesis and from that perspective, the semis. I just have some questions to start off with. First of all, I don't hate the pick. I don't hate it. I'm not going to do it, but I don't hate it. And I could see it going back to 50 because it was damn near there in like end of November. They had this accounting fraud stuff in 2018 and 2020. It came up again in 2024. Does that not at all make you feel a little icky about the company?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not thrilled, but that's why it's gone from 120 to freaking 19, and it's been bouncing off the bottom. I think it already bottomed. I didn't buy a full position, and if it goes down to 23 or 24, I will dollar cost average and get my average price to about 28 or so. Like I left myself room, and then I'll put a stop loss in at like 19, and I have a set amount I'm willing to lose if I got this wrong. But I don't think I am. They have earnings coming out in 2.5 weeks.
Okay, hold on. So that's my second question. These guys have earnings in 2.5 weeks. They have not filed the 10K from last year yet.
Right.
Does that not make you feel like what is going on?
No, because I think you're going to get all the information on February 4th.
But you don't feel any issue with the fact that they can't file forms on time?
Is it that they can't, or they're just waiting to release everything at once?
What type of Steve? What do you?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But what I can tell you is because they haven't filed, is why it is trading where it is traded, and that's where the opportunity is. And this is one of the ones I'm willing to take a chance on because when I look at the PE and I look at the forward earnings and I look at the forward revenue growth and I connect the dots with what is going to happen with NVIDIA, and then I see Jensen continuously praising the products in this. And then I go through the product roadmap and I look at all their different products, and then I look at the data center output that's going to occur. There's only one way that revenue is going, and that's up. At this,
Jensen didn't mention them out of all the suppliers he mentioned on CES, right?
He has multiple times.
I know. I'm just asking because you're bringing up Nvidia, but Jensen's not even giving them any love on CES. He mentioned Dell. He didn't mention SMCI.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
That
right?
doesn't mean the products aren't going to be used. They're very specialized products that only a couple of companies make. You got to think, if they're a preferred vendor, the rising tide of Nvidia is going to lift all ships. That's the play that I'm looking at. I could be 100% wrong.
Well, I actually agree with that part of the thesis. There's some icky parts I have about like the company itself, but the thesis of Nvidia like getting more GPU demand and SMCI having more, I agree with that. That's like, there's no hesitation for me on that perspective. Couple other questions. Gross margins went from 15 to 11%. Does that not concern you at all?
It doesn't concern me at the moment because I'm driving. Tell me where the PE is right now. It's like 12 or 13, right?
It is 16.
16. So when you look at the earnings and revenue expansion that the analyst community is expecting, it's trading pretty cheap forward earnings.
Yes, forward earnings is 12. You're right. Yeah.
2024 forward earnings is 12, and it gets down to single digits when you go out to 2026.
Correct.
You look at the revenue growth that's expected. It's very big over the next 2 years, and Microsoft, I don't think the news from Microsoft is setting into the market the way that it should. This is a big deal. Nobody is letting this fly without spending also. They're not letting Microsoft run away with it. We're going to see a bigger CapEx year in 2025 than we did in 2024, the way that I've continuously said we're going to. And I think that this is a company that's going to be an indirect win on NVIDIA's back. And that's the play that I'm looking at right now.
In terms of their internal investigations around fraud, you know that the person who said SMCI is not doing any fraud is a lawyer that was hired in August of 2024 who's on their board of directors, right?
I do. And
doesn't that feel a little icky to you or no?
No, because ethically, if there is fraud, they have to say. I mean, look, maybe not every single person is ethical, but I would like to think somebody who took an oath to pass the bar.
I mean, Zucks just admitted for the past decade he's been censoring Republicans. So I don't know if everyone has to admit everything.
Just admit that. He admitted it before.
Well, based on the podcast today, he really admitted.
He admitted it in the last podcast with Rogan.
Yeah, but this one, I obviously haven't heard the latest clip.
I haven't. No, I've been busy all day.
I'm just saying, if someone on the board of directors does an investigation and says, actually, the company's fine, it might be because there's a little bit of a conflict of interest.
Look, if there is fraud, this is going to go down. There is no question about that. But once again, it could be a rounding error. There are a lot of things it could be. It could have just been an oversight. I mean, at the end of the day, the auditors are humans too. This could have been what my buddy seems to think is this could have been a very minimal mistake that just threw everything out of whack. He said that this could go the other way. It could be fraud. He just said there's a halfway good chance it's going to be nothing.
This is the other part I'm confused about. Your buddy saying this could be a mistake. Like, how does a company make a mistake when it comes to their books and accounting? I mean, this is the stuff you have 90 days to not make a mistake about.
Look, shit happens.
I mean, when you're a public company, Steve, like this shit.
I'm not disagreeing. That's why it's not trading at 120 and it's trading at 30.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
All right. So that's where the alpha is, that if this is end up being a mistake, then there's just going to fly. If it ends up being a mistake, it's going back to 19. I mean, if it ends up not being a mistake, it's going back to 19. Like, this is high risk, high reward, which I normally don't do, but there's enough supporting data to make me put some money into it, because I think that this is a calculated gamble on my part. This is probably not going to be a long-term investment. This is
what's your exit? You like 50? You're happy? You get out? Or what do you think?
Yeah, this goes to 50, 55. I'm done.
Okay, so it's a trade. It's a trade.
Yeah, this is a. I normally don't do these types of things, but
I know, which is why I'm so confused why you're on this bandwagon. It's new. Like, are you having a midlife crisis or something? Like, is there any?
No, but these guys better move in front of me. No midlife crisis. I just think that there's a lot of supporting data there. The Microsoft thing is big news. There's a lot of. Look, there's going to be a lot of data center spend. We're going to need more of everything. We're going to need more liquid cooling. We're going to need more racks. We're going to need more casing. We're going to need more DRAM. I think Micron's a good play here. I just got to do more research on it. I think Micron's really a good play here.
Wow, hold on. Matt Money's in the chat. He said I bought leaps on SMCI today.
Yeah, he bought leaps about an hour and a half.
You motherfuckers are going to make me so annoyed if this shit goes up and then you're going to be bragging. I can already hear the Zoom calls. Hey, Amit, you want to set up a meeting so we can talk about SMCI?
Are you coming to the Zoom call tonight?
There's another Zoom call. What? Are we going to circle jerk around SMCI some more? Like,
our buddy would like to have a Zoom call tonight, so I'm setting it out when I get home.
So when I left to stream Jensen, which is the reason you guys bought SMCI, you guys were discussing SMCI for an hour.
Yes. Among other things, yes. And it wasn't an hour. We were on there for like 2.5 hours.
Oh, boy. Now I feel like I got to buy one share just so you guys can't fucking...
I mean,
like,
you don't have to do anything you don't want to do.
Interesting. So SMCI, I don't like management and I think it's icky. Now, nonetheless, that always does tend to be a reason where either it's a complete fraud and it goes to shit, or if there's good earnings, the market kind of doesn't care, right? We've seen that happen time after time.
Yeah, I mean, look, if their earnings are good and they keep expanding, and think about this, you got them reporting in the beginning of February, and then you got NVIDIA reporting at the end of February. So there's a lot of stuff that can happen.
I mean, look, I never hated it. I don't trust it. But then again, if the company is not literally a fraud, there is a world where good earnings takes them higher. That is true.
Yeah, and remember, it's not like they're selling a fake product. Like they're selling physical goods.
No, that's true. That is true. You're right. You're
physical
right.
goods that they are generating revenue and profit from. So it legitimately could just be a freaking rounding error or something insignificant.
Okay, so let me do a poll in the chat of how many people. By the way, I asked the chat Meta or Apple over the next 5 years. 77% said Meta over Apple.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree with that too. Okay, so do you like SMCI? That's the question in the chat. Like meaning you would buy 100 shares. Interpret like means you'd buy 100 shares of SMCI. Let's see. Let's see what people think. All right, so you're in this. So like you add if it goes back to 19, you add again?
No, I think my number's 24. It gets to 24. I buy more. My cost basis ends up being like 27.50 or something like that.
It's just one of those things where, like, look, I hope it goes up and you make money, but like now that I'm in the protection of money phase, I kind of don't even want to do a gamble a little bit. Like,
no, and I understand that completely. It's just this is one of those things where I have cash in the account. I think this is an interesting play for a swing trade. I think that there could be momentum. I think it may have bottomed. When you look at a chart, it looks like it bottomed. So it's interesting. I'm interested.
Well, here's a big question. Why didn't you just buy more Nvidia?
Who says I didn't?
No, I'm just saying, like, why didn't you just add to Nvidia on the dip versus initiate a new position?
I mean, one, I am continuously buying Nvidia. 2, I will probably buy more Nvidia next week. 3, what does it say to you when SMCI is up today and everything else is bleeding?
Well,
I mean, theoretically, SMCI should have been down 5% today, but it wasn't.
No, but it went up to 38 and now it's at 32. It did fall. It lost all of its gains. What are you talking about?
It's up from 19 though.
Well, that's over the past 2 months, but I'm saying today it jumped up to 39. I get your point. By the end of the day,
it did not jump to 39 today.
I'm looking at. Oh, sorry. On January 6th, it was at 38.50.
Yeah, not today.
Today it was 34.
What I'm saying is today it finished green when everything else finished red.
Actually, it finished red, but it finished down 2 cents, but still, it finished red.
Whatever.
I'm just saying.
Whatever.
All right. I mean, I guess you and Matt Money did some discussing, and you got into it. Right now, we have 60-40 on the poll that doesn't like it, but that's higher than I thought. So there are 40% of people that do like it.
Yeah, and look, this could be a very bad investment. There is no question about that. It could be very bad.
It could also be really good, and you look pretty smart in a month.
Could be. I mean, look, this is a 2 or 3 month thing. And let's see. I mean, this could get back to 50, and I could make a little bit of money on it. We'll see.
All right. Well, that's what we wanted to know. So thank you for letting, dude, the amount of people that were begging me to say this damn name. Now they know. See, when you have a stock pick, people care, Steve. People really care. Just letting you know.
Look, I did a bunch of due diligence on this, and I really think that this is an interesting play right now. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, Steve. Thank you. Appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend.
Are you coming tonight?
What time is the meeting?
9:30.
Yeah, I should make it. We have Palantir Weekly at 11, so I should be there. Should be good.
All right. Zoom invite's going out. I'll send it out in like 10 minutes when I get upstairs.
All right. Talk to you later.
Later.
Later. Guys, as soon as I saw that text this morning when he sent it, I was like, what? What? I was like, how did he's like, oh, we talked about it. I was like, when did we talk about this? Because if we did, I would have pushed back the day of. But apparently SMCI. There's a thesis. I'll try to get some more analysis from Steve and share it with you guys over the next few days and see what he likes. You knew you were gonna cook, Steve. Look, I actually don't hate the play because I mean he is right, dude. At the end of the day, if Microsoft's spending $80 billion and a lot of that's going to NVIDIA GPUs, you need GPU infrastructure and servers, which is what SMCI, Dell, and HP do. Now, is it kind of commoditized? Sure, but he's right. These are physical products. There's only really 3 of companies that do it in a meaningful way. And if you do believe that NVIDIA's growth is going up there, unless SMCI is an absolute fraud, there is an argument to get it. I don't even want to try trusting management because I don't need to. I feel like there's so many other opportunities. It's not like this thing is the next double or triple that is at the best discount in the world. And you know why I really feel like that? Their gross margins are disgusting. Like absolutely horrible. I mean, these are not 77% NVIDIA gross margins. These are 11% gross margins that went down from 15%. Now, granted, the volumes of the growth will outpace the margins, which directly impacts their net income. But it's not like if NVIDIA grows, massively, SMCI is going to grow massively on the bottom line. Definitely on the top line. But from a price to earnings perspective, how much are you willing to pay for 11% gross margins? So, look, if SMCI goes to 100 or something, Steve's going to look really smart. Even if it goes to 50, I just don't love it. I just don't love this one. 37% of you like it. 63% do not like it. Tess says, if you can believe those numbers, they're still bad margins. Yeah, I'm still confused why they haven't filed their 10K yet. Like, they got rid of, they got rid of. The old accounting firm resigned. They didn't get rid of them. They willingly left, Ernst & Young. A new one came on, and it's been about a month since the new one came on. I don't know if the books are that cooked or / in a bad shape that it's been taking them this long to release new information, right? Or just release the information they were supposed to release a while ago. So that also gives me some pause. Like, what the hell's going on? Why haven't we gotten out? Steve's saying it'll come out with everything else. I'm like, okay, I guess that's a reasonable way to sleep well at night, that last year's earnings are going to come out with the next quarter's earnings, but it is weird, bro. It is pretty weird. And again, SMC has been public for a while, so it's not like this is their first 10K they're writing. They've written a 10K before, and they've published it at least 30 times over the past couple of years or whatever. Or not 30 times, but 10 to 12 times. So it's like, you would imagine they understand how to do it. All right, we'll figure out what happens with SMCI. PM says, I joined a class action lawsuit against SMCI for accounting fraud. I hope you get something out of that. Usually the class actions don't tend to do that well from my experience, but you never know. Maybe this one actually pays out a little bit of something. Facebook did have to pay out $15 to everybody 2 years ago for some class action. It wasn't a lot of money, but $15 was not horrible. Also have a new CFO. That's fair. Let's look at SMCI's insider selling and see if that's been nasty or do we have any buyers. It's not horrible. The last real sale we got was in June. That's actually not too bad, to be honest. In June is when the stock was 80, essentially, I think. Hold on. June, SMCI in June was June. This is, yeah, it was 80. Yeah, 70, 88, around that range. So there's been 3 option exercises in October, but no direct sale since June. Now, granted, you could argue that the stock has tanked, therefore they have not wanted to sell at these low levels, but that also means that they're bullish the stock will recover, which is an argument that, yeah, if the insiders aren't cashing out even at these low prices, they think that they're extremely undervalued. Now, they're not buying here, but I guess they think that it's not worth selling. Remember when SMCI went over 1K? Yeah, that would be $100 at this post-split price. I got to 1,200 at one point in March of last year. I mean, he is right about that as well, that either you believe 1,200 was never supposed to happen and that going down to 300, which is 30 at this point, is an absolute amazing dip, or that it is truly bottoming at this point and that it has a shot to maybe get back to that 120 level. I guess we'll see. And we'll also see how their earnings look out over the next couple weeks. What is interesting next week? So next week we have a lot of things that are interesting, and then we'll finish talking about some other headlines today. The banks, baby. Banks next week. So Jeffries started it off. They had a great earnings beat on EPS and revenue, raised guidance. TSM has earnings next week, so that's going to be important. They released some December numbers today, which were very good. And then we have Bank of America, UNH, Wells Fargo, BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Citi, Morgan Stanley. If all of these banks can crush earnings, maybe even raise a little bit of their dividends, which is what Jeffries did by 14%, then we're starting off earnings with a bang. And Delta definitely crushed earnings today as well. So from a consumer standpoint, it looks like the cruise lines and the other airlines should do really well. Shopify, these companies should do well, given the consumer is in a strong space, holiday season. I guess Q1 guidance will determine a lot of things as well. But also on Wednesday, not only do we have these banks in the morning, we have CPI at 8:30. So I'll be live at 8:20 on Wednesday. That'll be a big one. That's going to be the most important CPI we've had since the last CPI. But it truly is, like, it's the most important CPI. So we're going to have to figure out how that plays out. Let's go back to the professor, get his thoughts on the Fed interest rates, and then we'll keep going from there.
The tech stocks don't borrow at those interest rates, but they have to worry about discounting. And since they're, such high PE ratios, a small change in discounting send them lower. So both those have, for different reasons, been depressed by the strong economic growth. By the way, no one mentioned today that the wages came in at or actually below expectation. So, it wasn't a wage pressure situation over here. It was really, wow, this economy moves ahead at this interest rate. Is that R star, or what we call that natural rate? It's really, we're very, very close to that now, maybe just a tiny bit restrictive, if at all.
Well, I mean, you did have UMich inflation expectations rise, which maybe just added a little bit of fuel to all this. So let me ask you this. What weighs more on the proverbial scale, if you will? Tax cuts and deregulation and good feeling about the new administration and what it means for the economy, or higher rates, thus fewer cuts? I mean, can the market overcome the latter?
Well, as we mentioned before, remember, the big tax cuts were done in the last Trump administration. The ones that are talked about now are much smaller. I mean, even if he can get 15, and he's talked about 15% for domestically produced. I mean, compare that from going down from 35 for everyone down to 21. So, I mean, people are saying it's a repeat, but it isn't. It's on a much smaller scale. Also, he got a lot of deregulation done. Now, unfortunately, Biden put some of it back, but a lot of it was done. I don't think, are we going to get the increment again that we got in his first term? So, in my opinion, those boosts, and they are positive, I don't think can overwhelm what might happen to interest rates to keep this market much flatter than we've seen it for 2 years.
Yeah, you mentioned the possibility of a correction. Would you be a buyer of it?
Yeah, I mean, if we get down 10%, I say on the S&P, which would probably mean 15 to 20 on I would put idle cash to work definitely on that. I do not see a bear market, which is over 20%. Although certainly there's the technical traders can bring it there, but I think you would be rewarded by buying below the 10% mark.
What would you do with the Russell? I mean, the pullback. Looking on my screen right now, I mean, the Russell over a month is down 8%. It's obviously the first place you look. I know people want to look at growth stocks, et cetera, but when rates rise, the Russell's been in trouble.
The Russell is totally a story about wiping out those Fed rate cuts, because those small stocks do borrow at the Fed rate, overwhelmingly, and which of course large stocks really don't. So, I mean, all their borrowing costs, which were being factored in, is going down 20%, 30%, 40% in terms of that. That just might not happen. So that's going to hurt their bottom line.
I agree. I mean, obviously, small caps are in a very tough situation if no cuts, and the market right now is not pricing in a cut for at least June, is what we're looking at the Fed probabilities. In terms of TSM, this was their December revenue report. 58% year over year in December for TSM. That's incredible, dude. I mean, just absolutely incredible. This goes back to Steve's argument, which is that if the semiconductor market, in particular for these chips, are not stopping, and it's only expanding, which, it's funny because Dan Niles is like, it's going to stop by second half of 2025, or it's going to slow down materially. And then you got Microsoft saying, well, we're going to spend 80 billion and a decent chunk of that's going to more GPUs. Then, like, who's right? Who's wrong? This is still December 2024 for TSM, so that momentum has to continue into 2025. But if it does, the other players like a Micron, like an SMCI, like an ARM potentially, there's so many ways just going long. SMH should still be a good play. It's just, are you willing to buy the semis after the year they had last year and continue holding them? And if you are, right, is TSM the play, ASML the play? A lot of people are getting excited about that one. Or is it just straight up AMD, which is the one that continues to get, I would say, disrespected at this point by the market? I mean, they're just not giving AMD any. Wow, it hit 114 today at some point. Let me ask this question again, because I don't think I saw the comments earlier, but who bought any dips today? Who bought any dips, and what did you buy? Let's see in the chat. What dips did you buy, if you bought any dips? I imagine some people bought AMD today, because this one definitely took a beating. And then NVIDIA as well took a little beating, down 3%. I know some of this has to do with some of the China export restrictions as well, but I think a lot of it also has to do with lack of clarity on rate cuts. Granted, rate cuts are not, they're not going to affect NVIDIA as much as some of these other names. Jasmine bought SoFi. We got Inked Up, bought Nubank and Grab. I see NVIDIA. Moody's. Interesting. I like that one. Is Moody's performing year to date? Moody's year to date is down 5%. Over the past year, up 20%. So Moody's, the credit rating agencies, have not done too bad over the past year. We got Tesla and Rocket Lab. We got SoFi, Adobe. Okay, we're getting some Adobes in here. We got more NVIDIA. Oh, Data-Driven Investing was also a friend of the channel. He bought some NVIDIA. That's his latest position. He bought 40 shares of NVIDIA today. So he said CES put him over the hump, and he decided it's time to go long NVIDIA. So he's in that play. We got SoFi, Rocket Lab, Reddit. Reddit was down today as well. I think Reddit was down, 4%? Well, it was down like 7%, but then it recovered. Yeah, it ended down 3% after being down 7%. Again, dude, either this is a bull trap, or every time we get like a really nice dip, 7 to 8%, 10%. By the end of the day, 2:30, 3 p.m., people start stepping in and they buy, even if it's just algos. And so far, that's what we've been seeing on a lot of these different names. Carla bought AMD, TMF, ETHU, SoFi, and Grab. Say heavy day. Jay bought Shopify. Shop went below 100 today, right? 99.79. Just there. Shop's on my list this year. Shopify is on my shopping list this year. I'm not sure if right now is exactly the time to get in, but it is there. Same thing with Amazon. Amazon's on the list as well. Amazon 218. And it goes back to the argument we were having on New Year's Eve, which is like mainstream media says sell the large caps. Large caps really haven't taken that much of a hit outside of Apple. We have to talk about the Apple news as well, because we do have some Apple stuff. But But so far, they haven't had that, massive 10, 15% correction. Also, Shopify probably is going to crush Q4. So, getting Shop under 100 just going into Q4 feels like it's the play. Or it feels like it's not a horrible play because Q4 has got to be amazing. And as long as Q1 can keep up some of that momentum, markets should give Shopify some love. Same thing with Amazon with the holiday season, especially if Amazon's operating margins were better than 11% this quarter. Bought Baidu. Okay, so we got some China in the chat. I'm not reading this one, Ruda, but good try. Not doing it. Not doing it. Bought a ton of BitX looking for a Trump pump. BitX, Bitcoin proxies, if Trump... So day one, Trump said he would pardon... I'm going to say his name wrong, but Trump said he would pardon Ross Ulbricht, right? This is the guy, Silk Road creator, Ross Ulbricht. I might be saying his last name wrong. Trump did say day one he would pardon him. For those that don't know, this is the guy that created a marketplace, aka the Silk Road, which resulted in, people doing some questionable things on that marketplace. But nonetheless, Ross's argument, he's been in jail for the past decade. He's like, why am I in jail? Like, Zucks created a marketplace. People do questionable stuff on Facebook just because people are doing questionable sales and purchases via crypto on my marketplace. Why does that mean I go to jail? Trump did say he would pardon him day one. And if he does pardon him day one, I think that's very bullish for crypto because it's not just about the pardoning, but rather it is him keeping his promise on what he would do for the crypto community, which means the Bitcoin reserve feels like it has a much better shot of getting implemented. And I guess we would have to see, if he actually follows through on that. Took a gamble on Bayer as a play for the Fires. BAER. I feel like I should know this name, but I don't. BAER. Bridge Aerospace Group. I have no idea what this is. As a play for the Fires in Cali. Okay, what's your thesis? You can put in the chat. What's the reason why? I have no idea what this company does. Aerospace. Yeah, I have no idea. But if there is some connection to the Cali fires, then maybe there's a short-term thesis there. They make the planes that are used for fighting fires. Wow, interesting. Were they up today? They were up 17% today. Huh. Dude, this is the cool thing about the market, right? Like, something happens in the world, and no matter if it's good or bad, people find a way to figure out where are the players that are going to gain momentum based on what's happening. And sometimes if they're publicly traded, there's a shot. Damn, this thing's up 57% year to date. It is a penny stock, correct? It is a penny stock. So before people get super excited, this is going to be volatile if you even think of getting into it. That's why he's in prison. Ross was convicted on attempted murder for hire. Interesting. I didn't know that. I don't know the history with Ross. Trump did say he would pardon him, though. So if Trump does pardon him, which is what he said he would do, then again, to me, I don't know if it's bullish or bearish for Ross particular, but it's bullish Trump keeping his word. And that is something a lot of the crypto bros really want to see that happen. Really want to see it come to reality. Okay, 57% on Bayer. And a lot of that happened in the past couple of days. So it seems like that's based on this California fire thesis. They make the airplanes for trying to put out the fires. Yeah, I mean, look, it's just a question then of if that reflects in their earnings growth. Because right now it's obviously just trading off the narrative that it would end up doing. It would end up going up because of the tailwind they have right now because of these fires. Tanner says it was a setup, but he still went through with it. Yeah, I don't know the history about it. All I know is Trump said he would pardon him. And the crypto people desperately want this guy out. I mean, they think he's one of the OGs. I mean, he is one of the OGs of crypto, but they think it would be a sign that we are in a new world when it comes to crypto. And Trump said he would do it, so we're going to have to see if he actually gets that done. Amit, did you get a chance to go into Canadian real estate? I did not, given we talked about it yesterday. I have not spent any amount of time looking into Canada's real estate. But I will try to look into it over the weekend and see if there's anything there. By the way, I don't know if we sold Bitcoin yet in the United States. Like, there was this rumor going around that the United States sold the Bitcoin that Biden said you were allowed to sell as of 2 days ago. And I don't know if that's the case. I mean, it still looks like it's on chain from the sources I'm looking at. So I don't think we've actually sold the 6.5 billion of crypto that people are saying we sold, which is good if that didn't happen. Okay, let's finish this clip from Zucks talking about Apple, and then we'll move on from there. I think he has a little bit more to say, and then we'll go forward.
And whenever you push on this, they get super touchy, and they basically wrap their defense of it in, well, if we let other companies plug into our thing, then that would violate people's privacy and security. It's like, no, just do a better job designing the protocol, right? I mean, we have, we basically asked them for the Ray-Ban Meta glasses that we built. Can we basically use the protocol they use for AirPod and some of these other things to just make it so we can as easily connect? So it's not like, a pain in the ass for people who want to use this. And I think one of the protocols that they've used, that they built, they basically didn't encrypt it, so it's like plain text. And they're like, well, we can't have you plug into it because it would be insecure. It's like, it's insecure because you didn't build any security into it. And then now you're using that as a justification for why only your product can connect in an easy way. It's like the whole thing is kind of wild. And I'm pretty optimistic that just because they've been so off their game in terms of not really releasing many innovative things, that eventually, I mean, the good news about the tech industry is it's just super dynamic and things are constantly getting invented. And I think companies, if you just don't do a good job for like 10 years, eventually you're just going to get beat by someone. But I don't know. I mean, at some point I did this like back of the envelope calculation of like all the random rules that Apple puts out. If they didn't apply, like, I think, it's like, and this is just meta, I think we like make twice as much profit or something. And that's just us. I mean, it's like all these small companies that like probably can't even exist because of the taxes that they put in place. So yeah, I think it's a big issue.
I think Meta makes like 45 billion of profit a year. So Zuck's saying we could make 80 billion a year, which would obviously have a massive impact on their market cap had it not been for Apple.
I wish that they would just kind of get back to building good things and not having their ability to compete be connected to just like advantaging their stuff. Because I'm pretty sure what they're going to do is like they're going to take something like this Ray-Ban Meta, category that we've kind of created with Ray-Ban and the company that built that. They're like the really great AI glasses. And I'm pretty sure Apple's just going to like try to build a version of that, but then just like advantage how it connects to the phone. And
well, they did that with their AR goggle thing, but
damn, Zucks is pretty bearish. He really thinks he's gonna beat Cook for the glasses hardware. It really feels like he thinks they don't have a shot.
It's not very successful.
No, that one they didn't actually connect into the rest of their ecosystem. But I mean, look, they shipped something for $3,500 that I think is worse than the thing that we shipped for $300 or $400. So I mean, that clearly was not going to work very well. Now, I mean, look, they're a good technology company. I think their second and third version will probably be better than their first version. But yeah, no, I think the Vision Pro is, I think, one of the bigger swings at doing a new thing that they tried in a while. And I don't want to give them too hard of a time on it because we do a lot of things where the first version isn't that good. You want to kind of judge the third version of it. But the V1, it definitely did not hit it out of the park.
I heard it's really good for watching movies.
Well, it's the whole thing is it's got a super sharp screen.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to basically have an experience where you're not moving around much in VR, you just want to have the sharpest screen, then for that one use case, I think the Vision Pro is better than Quest, which is our mixed reality headset. But in order to get to that, they had to make all these other trade-offs, right? In order to have a super high resolution screen, they had to put in all this more compute in order to power the high res screen. And then all that compute needed a bigger battery. So now the thing is really heavy. So now it's uncomfortable to wear. And then like, because of the screen that they chose, as you move your head, which you would if you're actually interacting, if you're playing games, like the kind of image blurs a bit, and that's kind of annoying. So it's actually worse for things where you're moving around in. But no, if you're gonna sit, if you're like on a flight and you want to have a $3,500 device that you use to watch videos, Vision Pro is better for that use case.
I like the new Zucks, bro. I like the new Zucks. You guys know my history with Meta, right? I bought this thing at freaking $320, and then it fell to $240. Sold it, put the money to Palantir at 12 instead. But I've always wanted to get back into Meta, and then it just ran away. It just well, actually, no, that's not fair. It went all the way to 88. Granted, Palantir was at 6, so it's not like I had a lot of money to divert the funds. But I could have bought some. I chose not to, and then it just ran away. But I mean, look, dude, like I'm not saying Meta is really cheap here, but it's definitely not expensive. Like it's not Apple expensive. Apple's still kind of expensive at $230. I mean, I don't think Apple until $210 gets really exciting for me. And granted, I'm generally not that big of a fan of Apple, the stock, but Meta's growing 20% year over year. Apple's not growing. And services is not the place where I think Apple really gets a ton of growth. In fact, the other reason Apple fell 2% today is because we got a post by one of the big analysts that follows Apple. And he says, my latest industry research indicates that Apple will encounter more challenging hurdles in 2025, including nearly stagnant iPhone growth. I think he's right about that. AI services that have yet to contribute. He's definitely right about that. And ongoing decline in the Chinese market. So let's analyze those three things. First of all, China, already they're having issues with their economy. I don't know why people would upgrade to a phone. Maybe the highest net worth people in China will do it. But people that are middle class are probably gonna forego this upgrade. Number two, AI intelligence is an absolute joke. I'd rather they have not introduced it or like put it out into the world if it was going to be this bad, because it's nothing right now. And so that's, not a reason to upgrade. And then stagnant iPhone growth. We talked about this back in October when the new iPhone came out. And my thesis was kind of at the time, I was like, why would people upgrade? And every single equity report I read that had a 275 price target, they gave some weird justification for why they thought people would upgrade. And now we're seeing in the numbers, and this is one of the most trusted analysts on Apple who's saying, no, in 20 days, you're going to see that people aren't upgrading. Or if they are upgrading, it's definitely not to the expectations of a $4 trillion company. Now, does that mean you sell Apple? I don't think so, because Apple will find a way to financially engineer, buy back their stock, and it's Apple at the end of the day. Apple is the market, so it's going to be hard to see the market go up without Apple going up. But nonetheless, it is not as exciting as Meta. Not as exciting as Meta at all. And they've got a leader like Zucks who's willing to do these podcasts. I mean, Tim Cook would never do Joe Rogan. By the way, did you guys know Tim Cook's middle name is Donald? I found that out today. Tim Cook's middle name is Donald. So that's a little bit of a bond he shares with Donald Trump. But I just like Zucks is cool right now. Even if he's only doing it because Trump's in office, it feels cooler than Cook. It's just a question of like, all right, if we're getting a large cap correction, 615 is going to be 515. But if we're not getting that correction, is 615 going to be 700? And I think no one knows about that right now. Yeah, Tim Cook on JRE would be wild, right? Absolutely wild. Terry says, I love my iPhone 8, dude. I don't know how some of you guys, I'm thinking of upgrading this phone because like the battery's starting to get annoying here. And I really can't stand when my battery, like I get so annoyed when I see a low battery. I get so mad. I'm just like, I just want a battery that lasts forever. Why does the battery have to go down? But I'm thinking of upgrading too, because but now I'm unique, right? Because I really get pissed off at the battery. But I'm probably not going through the trouble of actually upgrading. The battery's not there yet, but once it gets there, I will. But if the only reason I'm upgrading is because the battery life, like that can't be the bull case. Where's that battery pack? I don't even know, bro. I had a battery pack case. I don't even know where it is because I went to India. I took it to India. I'm pretty sure I brought it back, but in India, my grandparents' house is not that big. So like there's like 20 people living in it and everything was just lost all over the place. So I have no idea where that case is. Also, I kind of like holding the phone without the case, to be honest. The case was like really big. But in general, I think we're going to have to see how the market interprets Apple. I just got the new 16 Pro Max, 12 hours to transfer info. That's a lot. That's a lot of time. Doug says foldable screen phones have giant batteries because behind them because they have double the screen. The battery doesn't get used as quick, so you have all day usage all day. Yeah, but I can't get behind the foldable phone thesis, dude. I just like, I'm not having a foldable phone, dude. Maybe that's Apple's next real phone that gets people excited. I know some of you guys like it. I've never liked the idea of opening and closing your phone like that. Like I had a foldable phone back in like 2009. Now it was a flip phone. I don't know. I've never been on board with that. I really like the iPhone, dude. I've used an iPhone since 2010. I've been an Apple, I wouldn't say fanboy, but an Apple user for like almost 15 years. It's just I never thought of the stock as like the most exciting because I don't see them necessarily innovating or growing as easily. Do you not have a adapter and cable where you are? No, I do. And my phone's on charge. It's just like whenever I go out or something, it's annoying. But like, that's a petty concern for me to have about Apple. The real concern is why can't I talk to Siri and she actually say something back to me, even with upgrading the software, dude? Siri's like, it's not there. I go to ChatGPT. I talk to ChatGPT more, It's just not fully there yet. But hopefully they get there later this year. All right, let's get another update from CNBC. This is Jeffries, analyst that I actually like listening to, and let's get his perspective on if we should be bearish or if yields climbing are not that big of a deal.
Jeffries, chief market strategist. How does that get reflected in the stock action on a day like today when we got these two significant signals?
Well, I think the biggest thing that money managers are seeing is that the rise in interest rates that is reflecting the strong growth of the past is undermining the strong growth to continue in the future. And that's happening at a time when you see expectations of growth in the U.S. economy about as strong as they've been in many years. And so this economy is doing pretty well, all things considered, but not so well that it could face 100 basis point market-based tightening and continue to thrive as much as it has the last few years. And that's really, when you look at that set of conditions, we're teeing up for 25 likely being a pretty big disappointment.
Okay. Well, David Zervos, you're still bullish risk assets in this environment because you think rates are still headed lower. Why?
Well, I don't think I'm alone in that. I think Governor Waller was talking about that this past week, and we've been writing about it. I think a number of people still have that trajectory. Certainly the Fed has that trajectory. This was a strong number, John. There's no question about it. And when we get a strong number about the economy, even when there's not an inflation story to it because the wage side was actually quite contained, and you get a 2% move down, I think something else is afoot. And what I would argue is that the market is struggling a little bit with this idea that the Fed is possibly going to make a mistake and stay a little bit too restrictive. And the data are going to come in strong, but really what's baked in with all of the rate hikes that we've had, the balance sheet contracting, is that policy is going to get restrictive and they're going to get a little bit behind here and stay too restrictive for too long. I think that's why you got the curve to invert a lot today, I think the 2-year note was up 11 basis points, the long bond barely moved. That's not a sign that there's inflation expectations. That's not a sign that people are worried about Fed credibility. That's a sign that they're kind of going to stick around at high rates for a little too long and maybe make something a little bit more negative for the economy happen. I think that's what the market's getting a little bit jittery about. Okay. And also the politics matter there, Morgan.
Okay. Want to get your thoughts on how you would be positioning in this market right now, given the fact that I do hear the caution from you. And I guess just as importantly, would you say that the bond vigilantes are back in this market?
Well, I think naturally what happens is that rise in yields creating the prospective economic slowdown then necessarily creates the bid in bonds. And we've seen this a few times over the last couple of years. You get to rates that are a little bit above 450, stocks start to sag a little bit, rates go a little bit higher, you get towards 5. And, that's basically where the bid is. And odds are we're going to continue to see that. And given the significant strength that's priced into the stock market, right now this is a time to favor bonds relative to stocks. And today may be, the first of many days along that dimension.
David, do you want to get your thoughts? Because I know you're basically making the argument that at some point you're going to see yields come down and maybe come down meaningfully. So you see this as a buying opportunity here? And if so, what would you be buying?
I mean, it depends a little bit on your horizon, as always, Morgan. But, we use the bond market as a hedge to the stock market, right? We talk about our risk parity trades. We like having a levered position in the fixed income markets in case something goes wrong with our equity risk asset trade. That's really the story. And is it an outright bond trade? I'm not advocating that. I certainly think we could trade north of 5%. There's no issue with that, but I don't think that's where we're going to be over the medium to long run. I think the story that happened today, and I'll reiterate this from the previous comments, is that the market is getting nervous that the Fed is going to stay at too restrictive a level for too long. There's politics involved in that. And the data, when it's stronger, means that they kind of have an excuse to do so, even if the forward parts of the data look like they might be weakening. So I think it's not a big move, but I think it's important to note today, the 30-year bond yield didn't really move that much. That's not a sign that people are losing faith in the U.S. government bond market. They're buying 30s over 2-year notes. They're slamming the front end. That's changing rate expectations. That's changing the narrative on Fed cuts. And that's getting the market nervous that the Fed might be mistaken down the road at staying at these rate levels, these high rate levels for too long, much like they did in 2018 when Jay Powell and Donald Trump were having a little bit of an argument about what the right rate level was.
I think he's right about that. I actually think he's right about that. He is right that the 30-year barely budged, even if the 2-year got slammed along with the 10-year. And if that's the case, that is the market saying, okay, we're afraid of inflation. We don't like that these numbers are so strong because that lowers the expectations for rate cuts, but we're not necessarily going to punish the long end of the yield curve to be, bearish the U.S. economy over the next 30 years. We're just not that bullish in the front end, which potentially means that it's a little bit of a head fake, essentially, if you read between the lines, is what he's saying. And obviously, earnings growth determines that, CPI determines that, but we kind of saw it. I mean, again, Robinhood at 40, SoFi recovering back from 1381, like either algos or people stepped in and they were calling BS on the head fake because they just don't believe that the Fed is actually not going to cut until October. I would be pretty surprised if we don't get a cut until October. I would say the summer is now where I get look, unless CPI collapses, we're probably not getting a cut for the next 4 or 5 months. Like it's going to be really hard to imagine it happens overnight. And the market knows that as well. But when it's time to cut, it should be a meaningful cut simply because inflation is not running as rampant as the market might think. Yeah, TLT's at decade lows, right? It's like I don't think that's going to be there for the next decade. I think eventually that 10-year tops out. We got some super chats. First, Spencer puts on Apple, calls on Spirit. Is Spirit still a company? Are they still even a thing? Save. Is that thing? No, they're not there anymore. Okay, so you can't buy calls anymore on Spirit. Sosefo, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but thank you for becoming a channel member. Heavy on the avocado. Thank you as well for becoming a channel member. Rob, thanks for the $10 super chat. Amit, it's well known that the president can't directly fire Powell, but will Trump try and find a way? Yeah, if Powell pisses him off to the point where he doesn't cut at least in the next 6 months, Trump's going to find some way. Now, maybe there's not a way to get it done. And Jay Powell already said he thinks he can't be fired, but I don't think Trump would actually fire him. I think he would put a lot of pressure, just like he did in 2018, as the Jeffries analyst was saying. And, maybe that would get Jay Powell to budge. But if he legit wants to fire him, I think there is a way that it's possible. They would have to do a lot of legal work to get it done. But it would be a lot of drama, and the market would not like that because that would be very that would just have a lot more uncertainties on the broader market. Steve, what's your price target on SMCI? So Steve said again 50. 50 is where he's thinking he gets out. So it's a 32 to 50 trade, which is what? That is a 56% gain roundabout. That Steve's looking for. Again, SMCI, maybe it's a thing. Maybe it actually becomes a thing. I guess we're gonna see. We're gonna see on SMCI. All right, I think that's all the super chats that we have right there. How do you become a channel member? I think you just click join on YouTube on like the homepage, and then it allows you to become a channel member. Amit, Trump can just revoke his security clearance for any reason, making him unable to do his job. Really? He can do that? He can just he can like take away his like hall pass to walk through the can he actually do that? Can Trump do that? I feel like he has the ability to, but again, the Fed is not part of the government per se. So does Trump actually have the ability to do that? I feel like there's some legal way to do it. SoFi earnings play. I don't think there is a SoFi earnings play other than sell puts at 13.50, or even at 14 if you really like SoFi. I wouldn't buy calls just because you don't know what the macro environment's going to look like. I do think SoFi is going to crush earnings, but I don't think that means stock is going to moon. But I think selling puts is a pretty easy play. Like, I think SoFi from 12 to 14 is not a bad price to own that stock as long as their growth continues. And their EPS growth estimates, again, they always sandbag, so they always beat and raise. Like, they've done that for 7 quarters in a row. So I don't know. I don't think there's going to be anything special that gets the market to go crazy unless it's just like 35, 40% growth. And it really depends how bad CPI is as well. But I think selling puts at 13 is not a horrible play. I don't hate J Powell. J Powell's been on my I've been calling J Powell like the top 3 Fed chairs of all time. And if he actually pulls off what he's been doing over the past couple of years, I think he beats Volcker as the top Fed chair of all time. I just think if we're being objective, Trump's not going to allow J Powell to not cut for the next 6 months. And again, guys, we're paying $1 trillion of interest on the debt. Like, eventually we have to cut. And there might be a world where Trump's just like, you know what? 3% inflation is not bad. Cut. Like, Venezuela has 250%. We'll handle 3%. You know, that might be, now granted, he can't mandate that, but he can definitely tweet about it enough to the point where the Fed has that pressure. But I think J Powell's done a very good job. I don't think J Powell's done horrible at all. I mean, J Powell was given an economy where trillions of dollars were printed in both administrations, Trump in 2020 and Biden in 2021. I mean, how do you navigate that? I know a lot of people give him shit, but I still think he was able to deal with 7 trillion printed in less than 18 months. Now, the one thing that really helped J Powell, just like it helps all of us every day, is AI. I mean, if we didn't have ChatGPT start off at November 2022, we probably don't have a market that's compounded 20% for the past 2 years. But nonetheless, he's been managing it. Bitcoin right there, 94,713. So that one's still below 95, but it's above 91 where it was yesterday. NVIDIA up a little bit after hours. The insurance ETF IAK was down 3% today. Oh, we got to make an insurance watch list. So let's do that. Do I have one already? No, I don't have one. Okay, so I need tickers for this. I need tickers. I know we have IAK. So we'll check this every day to keep up with it. IAK. Then we have Chubb. Then we have, what else? What other insurance companies are out there? Is State Farm public? I don't think they're public. No, they're not. Allstate's not public either, right? No, they are. Are they? Allstate? No, that's not public. Oh yeah, Lemonade. PLMR. Yeah, that's another one. PLMR. Lemonade. Is PLMR down today? Yeah, look at that, down 4%. Wow, Lemonade down 6%. Chubb down 4%. IAK down 3%. Puts on insurance this morning was not a horrible situation. UNH. We got that one. Aflac. That one. PGR, Progressive. Okay. PPME. That one's not here. AIG, that's another one. Allstate is all. That's their ticker symbol. All. Oh yeah, wow. Yeah, it is. Allstate was down 6% today. Goodness, bro. These guys got hit. These guys got hit. I don't know if we can put Berkshire up there. I don't know if we put Berkshire in there because Berkshire has so much other stuff. It's not going to be pure insurance, but it is a lot of it. TRV. This one was also down 4% today. Wow. Insurance really got hit today. Yeah, he owns Geico, but remember, it's not a public company anymore. Geico's just part of the whole. I mean, there's just the reason I don't want to put it there is because, like, what if Apple goes up or American Express goes up? It means that whatever issues are going on with insurance shouldn't necessarily stop Berkshire from doing well. Was down 2% today. Was down 2%. So the market definitely felt insurance would be a problem for them. I guess we'll put it there anyway, just to keep up with it as an insurance play. So we'll put Berkshire there. Rather being hood hands than good hands. All right, I guess that's what we got. Well, that's what we got for insurance. Cigna is health insurance. What is the major insurance companies of California? Like what are the ones that most people? Cigna was down a little bit today. Like in New Jersey, Aetna's big. Horizon is big. Geico is big here. MCY. Okay, we'll have that one too. MCY. Then MetLife. Yeah, that's another one. MetLife was down 3%. Goodness, dude. Yeah, a lot of these got hit today. All right, so we will be looking at insurance every single day and seeing how they're affected by California. I think the California thing is I mean, that story is not ending anytime soon. It is pretty damn bad. And there's a lot of damages, dude. That 150 billion is just what's estimated. If that gets to 200-300 billion, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really, really, really tough for California to navigate it. I'm also curious. Oh, we have Biden talking right now? Oh, no, he's about to talk. Oh, Biden's about to talk. The other thing that we have is California go red after this? Like, do you get enough people that are like, that assume that it's Newsom's fault for all of this because of whatever reason? Again, it really plays into the narrative and politics of it, but is there an argument where California is just like, dude, we're tired of this shit? I mean, Amazon gets rid of DEI, Meta gets rid of DEI. We're seeing all the New Jersey almost went red. We're just seeing so much of a cultural shift in the United States, across the world, Canada, Trudeau's resigning. I mean, you never know in the next couple of years how this all plays out, but I think that's also going to be something that we have to keep an eye on. All right, Biden's about to speak about, we're going to listen to a little bit of it. He said he's going to deliver remarks on the U.S. economy following the December jobs report. So I do want to see what he says about it. This is going to be one of his last speeches as president. Joe Mattingly, thank you for the gifted 10 memberships. Appreciate you, Joe. Thank you for that. Let's see who got a membership here. Again, YouTube does it randomly. So Mary, you got a membership. Nick got a membership. Tabby, Jordington, James, Leonard, Tommy, Doug, and Abraham. You guys got 10 gifted. Thank you for that, Joe Mattingly. That's awesome. Dude, we're already 10 days into January. Like January's still got a couple weeks left, and then boom, we're in February. Like 2025 is in full action. But are you guys keeping up with your New Year's resolutions? Have you guys like kept up with it? I feel like I've kept up with mine for the most part. I feel like I'm eating better, going to the gym. I'm getting a lot of work done every day. A lot of just random shit I needed to do, I've gotten done. I can be better in all of those, but I feel good. I don't feel horrible about how the new year started. I don't feel like I'm in that valley of despair where you're like, all right, we're just gonna forget the New Year resolution, right? I was on the phone with the real estate agent today for the new apartments that I want to move into, and she was very helpful. I'm actually getting a tour of it tomorrow, so I'll definitely post a picture of some of that stuff on Twitter. But so I'm going there 2 p.m. tomorrow, going to get a tour of it, see what it's like. And it looks like a dope spot, dude. I asked her a lot of questions. She pretty much answered all the concerns I had. And I think there's a shot we make this happen. Haven't blown up the account yet. Yes. That's also a good thing. Haven't blown up the account yet. Mike said I stopped smoking for 2 days. Is it cigarettes or weed? Cigarettes or weed? Which one are you trying to stop? Zocult said I didn't have one. Can you look at NBIS, dude? A lot of you guys are saying to look at NBIS. I have not looked at it, but I've gotten multiple messages on this thing. Nebis Group. I'll look at it. I'll put it on my list. I have no idea what this company is at all, but I'll look at it. I've gotten at least 10 messages on NBIS. So I'll look at it over the weekend. We'll see what's there. Is the realtor coming to your housewarming party? Probably not. We got to have one, though. I got to have a housewarming party, though. It's going to be fun. How's the 1K portfolio versus Derek? I even forgot we made that bet. So I haven't even thought about that, to be honest. You guys got to help me with that. I'm having a bet with Derek of who can outperform with 1,000 in during 2025. And I have not thought of the play yet. Actually, I do think no. I don't know. I got to think. We can do anything, crypto, options, anything with that $1,000. We got to figure out what do we do to outperform. Yo, you guys need to freaking chill on this girl, bro. Like, you guys need to relax. Is Aaron going to your house? Like, you guys need to. It was like I can't believe how much you're stretching this thing with Aaron. It is insane how much you guys are stretching that. Like, it is wild. It was a random day on New Year's Eve. She hopped on and said hi. Like, it's like, you guys are acting like I'm in love with her. We're gonna get married or something. Like, dude, like what? Like, it's a stretch, bro. Absolute stretch. You guys are definitely keeping your New Year's resolutions going to the gym because that's a stretch, okay? It's a stretch. It's an absolute stretch. Dude, forget fart coin. There's another coin that was up today. You guys are going to love this. Forget fart coin. Butthole coin is up 36% today. I don't know what to do anymore, bro, with these crypto coins. I don't even know what to like. This is just, it's just butthole coin. So if you want to invest in a butthole, there you go. Instead of calling it asshole, they called it butthole. It's just insane, bro. It's just insane. It's so, I don't know. Like, wait, let me see the market cap on this because I haven't actually looked at this one. Butthole coin. I bet the market cap's 500 million or less. That's my guess. Let's see. It is no 50. No, is this the right one? Yeah, 57 million. Okay. So yeah, I was right. It's 500. So it's a 57 million market cap. This one's not as safe as Fartcoin. That is $1 billion of market cap, but still. Why do you even know these things? They just pop up on Twitter, bro. I'm in the crypto world. In terms of accounts I follow, they pop up and I'm like, oh, we've got another one of these that is there. I just feel like when Fartcoin's not that exciting anymore, they'll find another body part and they'll make a coin out of that. Like it's just how they're doing it. Biden should be on in a couple minutes. He's not there yet, but it looks like he's about to be on. Can you stop wearing that Nets hat? Dude, where's my Bulls at? I need to find it. It's somewhere in this house. But yes, I want to stop wearing it too. I mean, I have plenty of hats. I just need to find it. And easily 1,000x. A lot of meme coins were up. This is nothing new. Yeah, but it's nothing new. It's just the meme coins. I don't know. I feel like we left them in 2024, but they're still here. I've never been a really big fan of them. I've never denied like their validity in terms of a community getting together to like buy them, but it's all BS. It's just fun BS, right? And you got to figure out a way to get in and get out and like hopefully not lose. I invested in, dude. I took how much did I make? I took $400. I turned it into 1,800 with cat with hat. This was back in March. And I cashed out of that, thankfully, at the right moment. Look at this. Yeah, you guys probably don't remember seeing this. This has been March. Look at this shit. I opened my account one day on Phantom, and I was like, what? This is after like 3 months. Look at this shit. I saw $2,400. I was like, okay, so I had 845,000 cat with hat coins. But I guess in 2025, we still have the meme coins that are alive. John, thanks for the super chat. Bought so many dips, I done ran out of chips. Look, people are buying dips. You're not alone. Either it's algos or other people. I mean, a bunch of you guys in the chat said you're buying dips. So I bought the dip on Grab today, bought a little bit. So there are people coming in on these little 2-3% down days and buying. Yeah, this was so degen, bro. This is so degen. I like October 2023. I think I put in $400, and then March I wake up and I'm like 25. I forgot I put the $400 there. It was March 4th. I was like, okay, I'm selling. This is why I'll never make millions off of meme coins, because I told you guys my friend who put $500 in a meme coin and made 4 million. Like, it's the greatest return of all time. He held, and he was at 80 grand. I was like, dude, sell. You turned 500 to 80. He was like, nope. He went to 200. I was like, dude, fucking sell it. He was like, nope. Went to 400. I was like, I don't know what to tell you. You made $500 to 400K. You sell. He was like, nope. And it goes up all the way to 4 million. I don't think he got out at 4 million. I think he got at like 1.9 or something, 1.5. But at one point at the height, it was $4 million from $500, bro. Like, I can't even be lying. I saw it with my own eyes. I went over, we went to New York. We went and got dinner, and like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, this can't be real. And it's like, his hand was shaking, holding the plate. He's like, no, bro, it's real. I was like, this is insane. Like, it's actually insane. I just don't know if we're still going to have that in 2025. Yeah, but you see, he's a crypto OG. Like, not like he bought Bitcoin at 5 cents or anything, but he's been in the blockchain developer space since, I want to say 2016. So he really understood crypto and meme coin dynamics very well. And then he was just in the right place, right time. And he was there early, and he understood like what it means for magnification on crypto assets and like how markets eventually have these cycles. And he just held. He just kept holding. How can he sleep, dude? I remember he would tell me, dude, like his account would swing 200K in a day. And he was just like, he was just not look at it for a while. He was just like, it's just there. And I hope it, like, you know, he has a nice job. He's doing well off in life, where obviously if he lost $500, it wouldn't matter. It's just the opportunity cost of that 500 turning into a couple million. It kind of like, you know, you don't want to lose that. But yeah, it's just, he was in the right place and he understood crypto really well and held on to see it go up there. Inverse Kramer was up over 50% last year. I didn't see that. I mean, he definitely got Palantir and Tesla right before this year started. The protective intellectual blankets is what Kramer said is the reason to buy Palantir and Tesla, which are still holding on really well, dude. They're still holding on really damn well. I mean, again, even Tesla 390s, most people would have thought it would get to the 350s by now. It's holding up. And then Palantir already taking a basically 15% haircut, holding nicely at 65. I mean, even Palantir at 65 is still a $155 billion market cap. I mean, like, that's still a pretty unbelievable valuation for it. And even being able to stay at those levels to me is a win, especially in this macro. Taxes. Oh yeah, he's gonna have a lot to pay in taxes. He's gonna have a lot to pay in taxes. Dude, I talked to my accountant today, and I got a lot of questions answered in terms of like how I'm gonna navigate this year and you know what I'm gonna be doing. And basically my income quintupled from last year to this year when you add in stock market and then just like general income. So there's a lot of taxes I have to pay. And so I was just talking with him and trying to get an understanding of deductions and what I can take off and all that stuff. And he was laughing. He was like, dude, you make money. There's a good problem. I was like, yeah, but they're taking a lot of it. He was like, welcome to America. I was like, it's just not fair, bro. It's like, yes, it's nice that I made money, but they're taking so much of it. So much. They're just taking it away. He was like, it is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, he did not recommend the Cayman Islands. He did not. Dude, he's so straight. Like, you know, he's like, there's some accountants that are just like, you know, you don't even make a joke with them. They're just like, no, like, this is how it's done. He's not as extreme, but I got a lot of clarity today. So I think I have a better understanding of how I'm going to navigate 2025. But I'm going to need a decent amount of money, bro, by April. A decent amount of money by April to pay. And so now I have to really start thinking, you know, what I need to do to make sure that money's there and ready. All right, where is Biden, bro? Why is he not here? Like, this thing was supposed to start a long time ago. It was supposed to start 40 minutes ago. We are still waiting to see what he has to say. Is this a safe place to admit that I didn't file my taxes last year? Sure, but you're going to get a letter from the IRS pretty soon if you've not already. And they're going to want, look, if you are late on your taxes, it's just a penalty, right? It's interest, and it's aggressive interest. I think it's at like 5% a month on the amount you have to pay. But like, if you just never pay it, you know, eventually they're going to come knocking on your door and you're going to be in handcuffs, right? So like, you have to pay it. It's just, it adds up so much time if you're late, especially if you file them late too. It's another 5% every month. So it's one of those things where you eventually got to pay the piper. I filed an extension. I just didn't do anything after that. It's time to pay up, Spencer. Got to take some of that money out of HUD and pay up. When Trump fires the extra 87,000 IRS agents, it'll be easier. Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's definitely going to be more conducive to people to not like have to worry about all the nitpicking stuff of the IRS when there's not that much of a onslaught of them caring. But nonetheless, there's plenty of IRS agents that will be there without the 87,000 extra ones. And they're going to be collecting their taxes. They will be collecting their taxes. Chris CRM says, in the 80s, I didn't file for 6 years and thought I got away with it. Then one day I got a call and a letter. It's not jail time, but it's lots of paperwork and time, and no good news comes from a delay. Yeah. Yeah, it's not jail time unless it like is really like legit tax evasion type of Bernie Madoff shit. But if you just forget to file it or you just delay filing it, it's just a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of interest you have to pay on it. And then inevitably you have to pay. And then if you really don't pay that, then they get more excited about the handcuffs. But until like the IRS, they just want their money, bro. That's the biggest thing I learned about the IRS. They just want their fucking money. Like, even if it's late, they want, and they're going to charge you interest, but they want their money. They're not letting you get away with not ever paying it. They need their money. Davis said, I was making a reference to committing tax fraud being easier. Okay, well, Davis, if that's how you roll, that's how you roll. Biden's still not live yet. We're still waiting. Yo, did you guys see Biden? Yo, he made this gaffe, bro. This gaffe. So we're not. There was one gaffe I showed you guys yesterday where it was like he was in the midst of fires. He was like, well, on the bright side, I'm a great grandfather today. That it's already. It's just like, okay, congrats, but like people lost their homes. Then he said this shit. I don't know if you guys saw it, but this was wild, bro. This one was wild, bro. All right, listen to this.
Madam Vice President, I know you're directly affected, so you fire away. No pun intended.
All right,
bro. So you fire away. Like, damn, bro. Even CNN was like, all right, let's move on. Let's move on.
Madam Vice President, I know you're directly affected, so you fire away. No pun intended.
All right, as the president throws it to the
dude, even Jake Tapper's like, all right, let's move on. It's just like, bro. And the no pun intended made it worse, bro. Like, this is people's homes have burned down, and he's smiling with a no pun intended. And again, he's old. And like, when you're old, this stuff happens, right? When you get older, your brain stops working as well. But like, that's the argument people have had for the past 4 years. It's like, well, why was he in charge? Or who was in charge, more importantly, if that's how it works. You know, the thing about Biden that's really interesting, and this is another reason I think Obama actually hates Biden. I don't know if you guys know this, but when the president gets sworn in, one of the Supreme Court justices, you have your hand on the Bible, and then the Supreme Court justice is reading the oath, and then you repeat the oath. I believe Chief Justice Roberts was swearing in Obama in 2008, and he was reading the oath. Obama was reading after him, and Chief Justice Roberts got something wrong. Like, he messed up on the wording of the oath, right? Little mistake. And then so Obama messed up on the wording of the oath because he was repeating what the justice was saying. And so it was a little moment, and they just fix up the wording real quick, and that was it. And then Biden, in the press conference, the first press conference they're having, is introducing Obama in the White House press room. And he makes this joke. I'm gonna see if I can find it. But the joke is essentially him saying, and introducing the 40 whatever president of the United States, and let's hope he doesn't forget what he says, like our friends on the Supreme Court, right? So he's basically comparing Obama to having a bad memory, like Chief Justice Roberts having a bad memory. And Obama was not happy about that. Obama was pissed the fuck off. That was the first, because Obama's not like Trump. Obama's not just going to be like crazy and wild and stuff. Obama's like very put together. And he did not like that Biden made a joke about Chief Justice Roberts forgetting some words and then bringing that moment up that publicly. And in one of the documentaries I watched about this was when, it was a very small thing, but it actually caused tension in 2008, and there was a bunch of articles that came out about it, and Biden had to apologize to Obama because he was really pissed off that he did that in front of everybody. So it's these little things that happened early on in their tenure together that I think has created some rifts where Obama's not been the biggest fan of Biden, just in a variety of different ways that Biden composes himself. And he was really pissed off about this when it happened. Let me see if I can find this. Obama, Biden. Saw this a couple months ago. Oh, yeah, here it is. This one. This is it. You can see even Obama's face. He's not even laughing, bro, when he makes this joke.
Joe, you want to administer the oath?
Am I doing this again?
For the
Oh,
senior,
the senior
staff.
staff. All right.
A number of
Does
cabinet
anyone-
members have already.
My memory is not as good as Justice Roberts, Chief Justice Roberts. Does anyone?
Look at Obama, bro. Look at Obama. He pats him on the back, and look at his face, bro. He's like, "Did you really just fucking say that?"
My memory is not as good as Justice Roberts, Chief Justice Roberts. Does anyone have the? No,
Biden's like, "Wait a second, that was funny." Biden's like, "Hey, this was a funny joke," and Obama's like, "No, dude, that actually caused some problems on the first day of their presidency."
Roberts, Chief Justice Roberts. Does anyone have the? No,
So it's just wild to see 20 years later, Biden makes that like fire pun. And, again, wrong moment, wrong timing. Now, if I was Obama, would I have got that pissed off? I don't know. I mean, like, generally, I like humor, and I like to stretch the boundaries of humor as well. But, it's the day of swearing in. You probably want everything to be cool and composed. And your VP makes a joke about someone in the Supreme Court. I could tell how you get mad about that. But nonetheless, whether it's justified for Obama to be bad or not, the fact that tension existed means that they weren't exactly the best duo, given they can't bounce off ideas with each other like that, or their chemistry wasn't strong enough for Biden to know at that moment, hey, let me not say this because Barack's going to be pissed if I do that. So, I don't know. We will have Trump coming into office soon, though, and it's going to be a totally different dynamic between Trump and J.D. Vance. Amit, if you were president, what position would you give me? Dude, Davis, definitely not press secretary, because you don't be talking that much. I don't know, bro. I don't even know how many positions there are in the White House. I mean, there's obviously a lot of them. Well, you're studying to be like a doctor, right? Or a cardiovascular something. So I don't know. You'd be somewhere in the medical staff. That's what I would do. Imagine market open from the Oval Office, dude. That'd be wild. Okay, Biden is still not live yet. At this point, I don't know if he's going live. He's an hour late at this point. So I guess we'll keep waiting, but I don't know if he'll be here. The head of IRS. Dude. The head of IRS, if they fail to file their taxes on time, they're definitely not paying interest, bro. Because they're the ones administering all this shit. They probably fucking have a nice little loophole they have to get out of it. What would Amit do about China? I don't even know, bro. Like, I don't know, dude. Well, this is why I'm not president. But I don't know. At the end of the day, these are such complex issues. And Trump makes it look so simple. He's like, yeah, we'll just we'll slap some tariffs on them. We're good. And I think that's another reason people like him. It's like it's like the average person can kind of understand what he's saying, even if he's not, really going to do anything that difficult or complex, or if he is going to do something difficult and complex, but he's going to make it seem like it's super simple. I think that is some reason why there is an appeal that Trump has. Okay, so if we can't get Biden yet, maybe we watch this as we're waiting. This was from yesterday. I actually didn't see this yet, but Trump at a meeting with a bunch of these governors. We watched a couple of clips of it, but we didn't watch the full thing yet. Give him Fauci's position. Cardiovascular sonographer. Okay, so Davis, you're going to be doing that in the White House for me. That would be your position. Okay, yeah. So Biden, is he still alive yet? Yes. No. No, he's not. All right. So let's watch this then as we're waiting. This was Trump meeting with the GOP governors yesterday. This was kind of long though. This was really long. Okay, we'll watch a little bit of this as we're waiting. All right, here's Trump taking some questions yesterday.
Psychologically, because
this audio sucks. This audio sucks. Let's see if we get another one. Okay, let's do this one. I think this one's better.
do that? Well, I haven't looked at it. I will be looking at it. They show me tomorrow morning. They're showing me that there's a trade on. And trades, I have not been in.
Is quantum tanking again? Rigetti's down 12% after hours. Hold on. Is quantum down again? Oh my, quantum's tanking again. Holy crap. Hold on. That's bad. Why are they tanking after hours? D-Wave down 12%. IONQ down 4%. IONQ was up 7% after hours. Now it's down. Rigetti's down 11%. Qubit's the best one. They're only down 1%. Did we get any names? Did we get any short report or something? Dude, 12% on a Friday is wild. People should be like going home. No, there's no update yet. I don't see any headlines. But they're getting hit. I think Qubit's the best one in terms of, not getting hit as bad. Dude, why is D-Wave down 13% after hours? It was already down 5% for the day. Rigetti's down 12% after hours. Holy crap. Rigetti was already down 12% for the day. So it's just matching. It's intraday after hours. Why hasn't Trump invited Jensen to Mar-a-Lago? Well, Jensen said he wants to go, but he hasn't gotten the invite yet. But he did say he wants to go, so I would imagine eventually that invite will happen. I mean, he has to, bro. NVIDIA is the biggest company in the world. Why wouldn't he? Like, they have to. There's going to be a conversation about tariffs, all that stuff, so they have to talk. Zucks said 10 years away as well on Rogan. Hold on, let's see. Yeah, instead of Trump, let's just find more good moments from the Zuckerberg podcast. That's actually more interesting. I'm going to Command F Quantum. Okay, I think I got some quantum stuff from Zucks. Let's see what he says. Here we go.
And then what if that gets attached to quantum computing?
I'm not really an expert on quantum computing. My understanding is that's still quite a ways off from being a very useful paradigm. I think Google just had some breakthrough, but I think most people still think that's like a decade plus out. So my guess is we're gonna have pretty smart AIs even before that. But yeah, I mean, look, I think that this stuff it needs to be developed thoughtfully, right? But I don't know. I still think we're generally just going to be better off in a world where this is like deployed pretty evenly, and it's. I guess here's another analogy that I think about. There's like bugs and security holes in basically every piece of software that everyone uses. So if you could go back in time a few years, knowing the security holes that we're now aware of, you as an individual could basically like break into any system. AI will be able to do that too. It'll be able to probe and find exploits. So what's the way to prevent AI from going kind of nuts? I think part of it is just having AI widely deployed, so that way like the AI for one system defends itself against the AI that like is potentially doing something problematic in another system. I think it's like
AI wars.
That's not wars. I think it's just like It's I don't know. I think it's sort of like why there are guns, right? It's like, because I mean, there's like part of it is
AI
hunting.
wars.
Part of it is hunting. No, and part of it is like so that people
Defense.
can defend each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's so it's like,
Antivirus software.
yeah, it's like I don't think you want to live in a world where like only one person has all the guns.
Yes. You certainly
Right?
don't want to live in a world where only the government has the AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially not a world where only a government has the AI and it's not our government.
Yes.
So
Yes.
which I mean, I think is part of the issue is like when people talk about trying to lock this stuff down, like I'm skeptical that that's even possible. Because I kind of think like if we try to lock it down, then we're going to be in a position where the only people who are going to have access to it are the big companies working on it and the Chinese government that steals it from them.
Yes.
So I kind of just think like, no, what you want to do is like get this to be open source, have it widely available. Yeah, some like adversaries might also have access to it, but the way that you defend against that is by having it built into all these different systems.
I think that's a realistic, pragmatic perspective because I don't think you can contain it at this point. I think it's far too late, especially when other countries are working on it. It's far too late. It is what it is. It's happening, and I think the guardrails, as you said, are really important. I have to pee so bad, so let's pee and come back because I want to talk about a couple other things.
Yeah, sure.
We'll be right back, folks. So one.
All right, so Zucks says it's far away. Jensen says it's far away. I guess we'll see if it is far away. I don't know if Biden's talking, folks. I think he's talking. All right, just now we got him. We're gonna end on this, and let's see what he has to say about the jobs report.
Hey, everybody, thanks for your patience. It's been a long day. I'd like to talk about the transformational progress our economy has made over the last 4 years. This morning's job report shows the economy added more than 250,000 jobs in December. That the unemployment rate has dropped below 4.1, as low as 4.1%. And all told, in 4 years, we've created 16.6 million new jobs, the most of any single presidential term in history. There wasn't a month, not a single month, when the economy lost jobs, another record for any presidency. In fact, the last month America lost jobs was the month before I came to office. And the question is, I want to make it clear, how and why did we make such progress? We did it by fundamentally changing the economic policy of this country. After decades of trickle-down economics that primarily benefited those at the very top, Kamala and I and our administration have written a new playbook that's growing the economy from the middle out and the bottom up that benefits everyone. The new playbook is working, but in 10 days, our administration will end and the new administration will begin. We're going to face another inflection point. Do we continue to grow the economy from the middle out and the bottom up as we have the past 4 years, or do we backslide to an economic theory that benefits those at the very top while working people and middle-class people struggle for their fair share of growth? 4 years ago, when Kamala and I came to office, 3,000 Americans are dying per day because of the pandemic. Millions of Americans have lost their jobs and were at risk of losing their homes. Hundreds of thousands of factories and businesses closed, creating despair in so many communities all across America. Supply chains were shattered. Prices soared from everything from cars to home appliances. The previous administration had no real plan to get us through one of the toughest periods in the nation's history. In fact, there's an old saying, if the only tool is a hammer you have, everything looks like a nail. And over the course of decades, our Republican leadership's trickle-down economic was a hammer and working people were the nail. Slashing taxes for the very wealthy and biggest corporations, offshoring jobs and factories for cheaper labor overseas while importing products that used to be made in America. To offset its cost, advocates of trickle-down economics ripped the social safety net, trying to privatize Social Security and Medicare, trying to deny access to affordable health care and prescription drug costs. Lifting the fortunes of the wealthy often meant attacking the rights of workers. We came to office with a different vision of America. In the first 2 months I was in office, I signed the American Rescue Plan that put shots in arms and checks in pockets to vaccinate the nation and return us to full employment. We followed up with long-term investments in our future. my Investing in America agenda, which includes the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, the CHIPS and Science Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, together mark the most significant investment in America since the New Deal. The Inflation Reduction Act alone is the most significant investment in climate and clean energy ever, anywhere in the world. When we make these investments, when we do, we buy American. Buy America has been the law of the land since the 30s. It says that any money the president is authorized by Congress to spend should use American workers and American products. The past administration, including my predecessor, failed to buy American, use American workers, but not on our watch. We're modernizing roads, bridges, ports, airports, clean water systems, affordable high-speed broadband systems and internet, and so much more. And we've incentivized building all these large federal projects with American products and American union labor. Remember the shortage of semiconductors during the pandemic? Those tiny little chips, computer chips, the size of your fingertip, that power everything in our everyday lives, from vehicles and refrigerators to advanced weapons to your cell phones. America invented these computer chips, but over time we stopped making them. And chip factories went overseas for cheaper labor. So when the pandemic hit, we found out how vulnerable America was. Supply chains abroad shut down because of the pandemic. We couldn't get the chips, and prices soared. For example, it takes over 3,000 of these computer chips to build an automobile today. And when overseas factories making those chips shut down, the production stopped and the cost of new cars soared. Didn't have to be this way. I was determined to change that. And that's what we've done with the CHIPS and Science Act, which has attracted $350 billion in private sector investment in America, including from Korea and Taiwan and other countries. These investments are building new fabs. They call them the place where they build these chips. New fabs, massive chip factories, the size of several football fields, on fields of dream all across America, creating so far 125,000 jobs on the construction side of this, which will ultimately create tens of thousands more jobs, tens of thousands. These jobs in these called fabs are paying over $100,000 a year, and you don't need a college degree. It's not just the fabs. These investments are creating opportunity for entire communities, for small business, creating even more jobs and much more. You know, when they build these factories, they're going to find out that they're going to need drugstores and shops and restaurants, and everything grows.
All right, so I think that's it for Biden. One thing I do want to show you guys before we end it out. This was just posted. Zucks was talking today on Joe Rogan about all this pressure from the government to remove stuff in the name of disinformation, misinformation. Well, here's a video that just came out of Newsom talking to Biden and Kamala about the wildfires, and here's what he's asking them to do.
I ask you, we've got to deal with this misinformation. There were hurricane force winds of mis and disinformation lies. People want to divide this country, and we're going to have to address that as well. And it breaks my heart as people are suffering and struggling that we're up against those hurricane forces as well. And that's just a point of personal privilege that I share that with you, because it infects real people that are out there, people I meet every single day, people the mayor's been meeting with, and they're having conversations that are not the typical conversations you'd have at this time. And you wonder where this stuff comes from. And it's very damaging as well. But we're here to get the job done.
So, I mean, look, Zucks wasn't lying when he said that this is how the government then pressures Meta, because Newsom's telling Biden, you got all this misinformation. Then Biden tells his agencies to go tackle the misinformation. Then they go to Zucks, and now Zucks is left with the choice of, like, what do I do? So, I mean, it does, just that video alone, it was posted 5 minutes ago, makes, I think, Zucks' claims a little bit more credible about how much pressure the government puts on these social media companies to censor or to get rid of stuff they don't want to get out there. All right, I think that is it for me, folks. We are done for the day. And we'll be back for Palantir Weekly tonight at 11 p.m. And then we will keep going from there. Ballas, thank you for the $5 super chat. Hey, Mick, could you explain what a debit spread is and what the strike price is on your grab position? So I don't want to keep everyone here just to explain this. So DM me on Twitter. I'll give you a good explanation on Twitter. I'll write something up for you. But I talked about it a couple episodes ago. I'm going to clip that also and send it to you because I talked about it for like 15 minutes already. But the strikes are 7.5 and 10 on my call debit spread. 7.5 and 10. So DM me on Twitter. Twitter's in the description. And I'll send you a couple paragraphs on like understanding it better. But also, dude, if you just go to ChatGPT, I'm telling you guys, if you just ask that same question to ChatGPT, you're going to get so much information, so many examples, and it's going to be more interactive, right? Because then you can actually talk back to it and then it can explain stuff. But yeah, DM me on Twitter and I'll give my explanation to you and I'll explain why I picked 7.5 and 10. But essentially, I think Grab can get to $10 by 2027. And if it does, hopefully, we can make 6, 7x on our money. Yeah, I'll put it on the Emit Clip account. Shout out to you guys who've been checking out that account. It's been growing over the past week. I'll put that link right here. We're going to fix up the thumbnails because I want to make the thumbnails look a little bit better. Like, because the thumbnails are kind of all over the place. So we're going to make the thumbnails more like if it pops up in your feed, it's an Emit Clip. Right now, I think there's just too much going on in the thumbnails. So we'll fix that up. But this is the channel to subscribe to. And I will definitely put that Grab debit spread explanation on this channel as well. So it'll be easier for you guys. Is ChatGPT or Grok more accurate? So far, GPT is better. Like, GPT is better when you're asking it questions. Grok is good for real-time info because like it has all the tweets. But GPT is really good to like go in depth on an idea because it has O1, right? It has memory, it has the thinking, and Grok's getting up there. I think it'll get there by the end of the year. My thesis, all of them will be really good in the next year and a half. So it's really just a question of whichever one gets your attention. Also, Grok has a standalone app now. I just downloaded that yesterday. So this will make it easier to use, but you have a basic app now where you can ask all these questions. You don't have to be just on Twitter to be able to do it as well. All right, folks, that's it. We will be back for Palantir Weekly at 11 p.m. Eastern. We'll keep going from there. NYC Renista, thanks, and good luck with the apartment tomorrow. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you for that. I'll keep you guys updated on the apartment hunt. I'll post some pictures probably on Twitter tomorrow of the area. And yeah, I'll let you guys know if we get close to getting a deal done. And then hopefully by the summer, we get it done. And maybe even earlier than the summer, who knows? But probably around the summer. And that's it. And then we're moving out. Clap right now. I've stopped clapping, bro. I don't want to keep you guys on for so long. All right. That is it. 11 p.m. We'll be back for the weekly. If I don't see you guys tonight, I'll be back Sunday. We will have a Sunday show. Last week I couldn't do it, but Sunday we'll be back for the future show. And then we'll be back for the market open for the second trading week of January on Monday. Going into next week. And second week for 2025 trading as well. And CPI week, which is going to be a very, very big week. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you guys. Love you all. I'll see you guys on Palantir Weekly tonight or Sunday for the future show. Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend. Good night.